To order our regular meeting of Thursday, May 7th. And I want to thank all of you for attending. Because of the extended shelter in place, all board members and staff are attending today's meeting via teleconference only. For a few reminders, I just said one of them was please make sure your mics are on. And also, if you could, please use the raise hand function if you'd like to speak. Pardon me, it will make it easier for us to just keep track. And we're gonna, just as a reminder, we're gonna need to do roll call for all actions. For anybody who's listening to this or a member of the public, and you, if you can, and you'd like to join in, once you've, I will notify you when we're ready to take public comment. Use the raise hand function that you can see on the app, or press *9 if you're using a regular telephone, and we will announce last call for taking requests. Thalia from our board office will call your name and you will be unmuted. You need to accept the unmute to speak when you're ready. You will have 1 minute to speak except under public comment, and the timer will be on the screen. If anybody would like to speak under public comment, this would be the time to raise your hand. At this time, we're going to do a roll call. We'll do Pledge of Allegiance and then orders of the day. And I apologize, actually, I think, and I'm just going to ask staff if I'm right about this. Oh, never mind. We're going to do public comment and then we're going to go to our public hearings. Does anybody, any of my colleagues have any concerns or questions about what I've just said? No, we're all good? All right. So Elaine, will you please call the roll?
Blankley, Bruins,
Present.
Carr,
Here.
Carrasco,
Here.
Cortese, Davis, Dieppe,
Here.
Ellenberg, Jones,
Here.
Nis,
Here.
Liccardo,
Present.
McAllister,
Yes.
Miller,
Here.
Nunez,
Present.
O'Neill,
Present.
Peralez,
Here.
Rennie,
Here.
Vice Chair Hendricks,
Here.
Chairperson Chavez.
Here, thank
Madam
you.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Excellent. I'm going to ask those who are able to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask if Glenn could lead us. But Glenn, you have to take us off mute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much to all of you. We're now going to go to the orders of the day. This is item 1.3. Staff is requesting to remove from the closed session agenda item 9.1A, and this was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. Are there any other changes from my colleagues? I'm looking at the panelist side right now. No, I have no changes. All right then. Elaine, do we need to do a roll call on orders of the day?
Yes, ma'am, because we have a change on the agenda.
Ah, got it. Thank you.
All right. We're ready. Carr,
Yes.
Carrasco,
Aye.
Cortese is absent. Dieppe,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Liccardo, Board Member Liccardo. I will skip. Okay, thank you.
Aye.
McAllister,
Yes.
Nunez,
Yes.
Peralez.
Yes.
Thank you. Rennie,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Chavez.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. We're now going to go to our public speakers, and for the entire evening, except where I think where we may have a hearing that I'm unable to do this, we're going to have everybody who speaks will get 1 minute. I'm going to open up the time for public comment now. I'm going to, as we get through the public speakers, I will limit the number of speakers, from continuing to come on once we get close to the last speaker. So if I could ask staff, and I think Thalia, you're going to call the public speakers.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, I'm unmuting you now. Oh, Mr. Lee disappeared. David Page, I'm unmuting you now.
Hi, thank you very much,
You may-
David. Hi, this is David Page with 350 Silicon Valley. I want to thank each of you for all the work you're doing during this stressful time. Our group wants to express its enthusiastic support for Supervisor Chavez's commute-free commitment proposal, which was made earlier this week at the Board of Supervisors. And I'm hoping everybody that's listening here can help Supervisor Chavez with this fantastic proposal. The potential benefits, if it would be implemented on a widespread scale, are just immense. And we're hoping to get this done as soon as possible, considering all the different companies that are planning for their reintroduction to the economy after the shutdown ends. Thank you very much. I appreciate your assistance with this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Roland, I am unmuting you now. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, directors. This evening's agenda is packed and the root cause is very clear. VTA staff have cancelled nearly every single meeting for the last 2 months, and matters that should have been discussed in committee are now in front of you for approval on consent. This state of affairs does not exemplify open government at its best. And tomorrow morning, I will ask the MTC Legislative Committee to introduce legislation that will further refine and render permanent the changes to the teleconferencing requirements of the Brown Act that were introduced by Governing Nuisance Executive Orders N2520 and N2920. In closing, I will ask you that you return multiple items back to committee later on in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roland. Arahi Bahara, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute.
Hi, my name is Arahi Bahara, and I'm representing the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Strike. I'm a freshman at Archbishop Mitty High School and a resident of Santa Clara. I'm submitting this public comment to you today as a proud youth activist and resident of the community in order to urge the VTA Board of Directors to continue to prioritize sustainable transportation through and after this pandemic. Regarding operations, I encourage VTA to consider the needs of essential workers and others who constantly rely on public transit. Enough service should be run to avoid crowding as much as possible. Workers should be provided with personal protective equipment and thorough cleaning should continue. Funding collected from Measure B in 2016, as well as the highway expansion projects, can be used to fund this. The highway expansion will only increase emissions and will not provide long-term congestion relief. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Arahi. The next to speak is Blair B., followed by Eugene Bradley and Aleta Dupree. All right, Blair, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Blair?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, made it. Thanks. That was a good check. So thank you. I would guess we have all gone through a lot with the COVID-19 SARS pandemic. I've been trying to offer for over 6 months now. There have been a lot of good human rights and civil rights work in Santa Clara County that I think can be an incredibly good example for the CHR process in Santa Clara County and trying to reach San Francisco with its rail line. But unfortunately, this has left my own self at this time to reevaluate the power of government over everyday people and the important, incredible balances that are needed. I think new balances possibly have to be established at this time, basically, or in the coming years. So I'm worried, and so with all of that, you know, as I've always tried to offer, there could be ideas of a rail line between Merced and Tracy, with a BART extension from Tracy to the SF Bay area, with a rail line that can be established from Merced to Tracy, or a second CHR express rail line can be created from Bakersfield to Tracy along the west side of Interstate 5. Both of these ideas would not take away people and their homes from the San Francisco Peninsula. And I just wanted to make that clear. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I hope local government and everyday community can work on rebuilding their relationships in this time, and so everyday people don't feel so intimidated by government overall. Thank you.
Eugene, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Eugene?
Everybody hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Everybody, this is Eugene, founder of the Silicon Valley Transit Users. I echo the concerns of the first two speakers, in particular Mr. Lebrun's, that a lot of these VTA meetings have been canceled for obvious reasons, yet we're only now hearing them in public. So they need to be removed from consent and discussed publicly for transparency purposes. I do want to thank VTA staff for getting back to me regarding the status of these Snell and Hamilton Light Rail elevators. Sad that they're fixed until June. However, things are what they are. One concern I would like to address to Supervisor Chavez regarding our commute program. The interesting page on the county's website, well, it does list locations for where people can get COVID-19 testing. They don't list which bus lines serve them. For instance, the facility right at San Jose PAL Stadium, you can get there on the 22 and the 77. That would do a lot to at least encourage transit ridership for those who can't drive there. So thank you, staff. Please consider openness in government. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just, for the public, we're going to stop accepting public speakers on this item. We have 6 more speakers. We'll hear all of those, or 5 more. We'll hear those speakers, and then we're going to move to our next item.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Up next is Aleta, followed by Rachel, James, and Christine. And the last speaker will be Bruce. Aleta, I am unmuting you now. Please accept the unmute and begin talking when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Chavez and Member Dupree. This is VTA meeting. Let the record reflect that I'm a she and her. Thank you. Now I about railroading. The most important thing right now for me at VTA is the BART extension phase 1 and 2. So I ask that you really keep the focus on getting phase 1 open. It will make it much, much easier for me to get to and from San Jose. As there's congestion on the bus route, and the Capitol Corridor has a long gap in the middle of the day. As far as phase 2, I'm not favoring one method of tunneling over another. I feel it's important to minimize disruption down, as I remember the disruption in New York City when they were building 63rd Street. So I look forward to this continued work. As remember Clipper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rachel, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Rachel. Throughout this past year, I've been learning more each day about the necessary action we need to take, such as investing in renewables while divesting from fossil fuels, so that I can have a livable future. However, times have changed drastically in the past 3 months, and the need for local and governmental reform has never been more obvious. And although clearer skies and lakes have been one optimistic effect of the stay-at-home orders, we cannot expect that this will last long. Furthermore, we cannot allow our government to ignore the ultimate effects of climate change. If we do not act now, we will be dealing with much worse than even a global pandemic. By transferring your funds towards Measure B to focusing on public transit, you can do your part to lessen the financial coronavirus impact while greening the commute for thousands of locals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. James, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is James. I'm a West Valley College student and avid bus rider in the community. And I prepared this statement 10 minutes ago, so I hope the eloquence isn't suffering here. But if we're not ready to provide transit to the community, to the people in the community who aren't ready to open anything back up, if we don't prioritize mass transit now, we may just return to the trend that was occurring before, which was cutting routes and funding roads. And I think it's time for altruistic opportunism instead of reactionary fear when it comes to this. And we can use this upheaval for actual changes on how we progress. Please invest in a cleaner, sustainable future for our community. Thank you for your service to the community, which is what a lot of us wish we could be doing right now.
Thank you, James. Christine, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Christine, and I'd like to encourage the board to prioritize sustainable transportation as well, like previous speakers have said, and really consider the needs of essential workers and transit-dependent people who rely on a robust and clean transit system to work and get to work every day, even in the face of the pandemic. And this includes VTA drivers as well as VTA riders. I urge you to use the funding set aside for highway and expressway expansion to keep transit system running and avoid cuts and layoffs as much as possible. A sustainable and efficient public transit system will benefit everyone in Santa Clara County. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Bruce, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you, Board of VTA, for this opportunity to be able to speak to you. I want to emphasize the discussion points a number of the other people that preceded me went through and explained about why it's important to continue to keep the VTA mass transit work running, keep it clean, and make sure that it comes back again. The last thing we need to do is to lose this. The other important point that was made, but I want to emphasize further, is the fact that generally when people build larger roads, what happens is the roads get filled up. So transferring money from building roads to transit is going to be helpful, because what will happen if we increase the size of the roads is 2 or 3 years later, they'll be all filled up again. So please put the focus on mass transit, keeping them clean, and do everything you can to encourage it so that we don't have signs anymore that say avoid mass transit. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So that is our public comment. We're going to move on now to item 4, and this is public hearings. This item 4.1 is a resolution of necessity for 5 properties as noted on the screen for the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Capital Light Rail Project. The letters we received and the responses from VTA are online, and they're in your packet under item 4.1. Ron Golem, the director of our real estate and transit-oriented development work, will present this item. Ron will provide a presentation for each of the properties, and then I will open the hearing for the property.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to apologize because I'm having a technical issue, so I'm not able to get my image on the screen, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to proceed with the presentation then. So for this item, we are conducting a resolution of necessity hearing for 5 properties for the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector. This is the extension of the Capital Expressway Light Rail Line down to the Eastridge Transit Center and the surrounding area. So we will go through each property, and then at the end, we'll ask the board to adopt a resolution that encompasses all 5 of the properties. So if I could have the next slide. Several key points for the board and for the public about this resolution of necessity hearing. The first is that the board has full discretion as to whether or not to adopt the recommended resolution of necessity. Another key point is that the amount of compensation to be paid to the property owners is not a consideration in this hearing. And so this is about all other issues except for compensation. And then finally, the board must make each of the findings contained in the respective resolution of necessity for each property prior to its adoption. If I could have the next slide. So what I'd like to do is provide a brief overview of the project and where we are and how tonight's actions fit into this. Since the board cleared the environmental document for the Eastridge project, that then set in stage the process for advancing the engineering design. And that design had to proceed to a 65% basis before we had the ability to define what the real estate requirements are. You see in the image the extension of the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector to the Eastridge station. The new stations at Story and at Eastridge and the viaduct along the way. In total, there are 18 acquisitions that we need to make for this property. Most of them are easements, and so the nature of easements are that you have to advance engineering to define what those are. We have done that work. Starting at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we initially contacted property owners to invite them to participate in the appraisal of the properties, and then worked with us from that point as we prepare to make offers. Just so everyone is clear that when we go through this process, we are obliged by California law to offer just compensation for the property interest we acquire, and just compensation is defined as fair market value. So we began in January and finished by early January making offers for all 18 of these properties that we acquire. Our goal is always to try to accommodate at least 3 months time frame to negotiate the particulars with property owners so we can settle this. On the other hand, we do have a very constrained schedule for this project. And so we are at a point tonight where we have not been able to reach an agreement with several property owners. And so we are seeking a resolution of necessity with the board. Just to provide some background on this project, the next key step in the beginning of construction is really with utility relocation. We will be both moving some of the high voltage PG&E lines along the corridor to accommodate the project and the service needs. That work, according to the project schedule, needs to begin by the end of August, which is very soon. And we need to have the foundation work for a couple of poles or towers that need to be installed completed before mid-October, or we will be shut out for 6 months for seasonal restrictions on doing projects during the rainy season because these towers are next to a creek. So the purpose for this action tonight is to ask you to adopt resolution of necessity to enable us to keep the project on schedule. I want to assure the board that even after tonight's actions, we will continue to negotiate with the owners. And our experience has been that in nearly all cases, we are able to reach a mutual agreement as to how to acquire the properties. However, the resolution of necessity is an important step in that it gives us the tool to advance the project and stay on schedule. So if I have the next slide. The first property we'll discuss is EBRC 1392, and that's Montalbano. And if I could have the next slide. What this image shows is the Montalbano property. You can see this is the property, it's on Quimby Road, just a little bit east of Thompson Creek. You can see that that little red triangle is actually the acquisition that we're envisioning. And so what we're seeking to do here as part of our relocation of the power lines is that the power lines themselves will not be over the property, but we need to have with power lines a certain amount of sway in case the power lines kind of move with wind conditions. And so this is an easement that would account for at certain points that the power line sway may encroach onto the property. If I could have the next slide. So what this image shows is and this is getting at, I think, a question that you'll hear in a moment from the property owner is, what is our ability to find ways to kind of reduce the impact? So this segment is part of a larger set of changes to the power lines to accommodate the project. What you see here on the south end is existing tower. At the north end is the proposed tower. What you see in the blue stripe is actually where the power lines will be located, and in the green area, and then you see where it intersects with the Montalbano property, will be the sway easement that I'm describing. Now, in engineering the project, our obligation is to look at the project as a whole and understand how we can minimize impacts to private property. And so we went through all kinds of permutations about different alternatives and different ways of being able to reconfigure the necessary changes to these power lines. This ended up being the alternative. And even after we decided to make decisions to actually construct more power poles than would be necessary typically to provide more flexibility, this is the configuration that overall has the least impact to all private property owners, although it obviously does have an impact to this particular property owner. So if I can have the next slide. So this sheet summarizes the property interest that we're describing. As you saw in the aerial, this is a property that's slightly over 1 acre. It's improved with a single family residential building. The overhead electrical easement that we seek is 684 square feet. We had presented the offer on January 30th. In our efforts to contact the property owner, we received a letter back saying they're not interested and directing us to look at other locations for the project. We are here tonight because we have not been able to engage the property owner since that time. And so to maintain the project schedule, we need to ask the board for a resolution of necessity so that we can move forward with property acquisition. And with that, that concludes my presentation on this property. And I believe that we have a property owner who wishes to speak.
So I want to ask staff a real quick question. So we're doing a public hearing for each property, but the staff is requesting one single action. Is that accurate?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Elaine.
Thank you. I will now formally open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board for property ID EPEBRC 1392 owned by Caroline Montalbano? I apologize. And I see we have, for the public hearing, may I ask another question? The hearing officer, and I'm sorry, this is an opportunity is it just for the person whose property is being impacted, or is this for the broader community?
This is Evelyn.
Yes, Evelyn.
If I could address that. It's for the property owners and those impacted by the acquisition.
Okay, so Blair, this is not an opportunity for you to speak. We're going to be only asking for the property owners to speak on this item. And so may I ask the clerk to call on Robert, please, and unmute him?
Yes.
And Robert, you have 5 minutes. Robert, are you the property owner or the representative of the property owner?
Madam Chair, this is Elaine. The property owner is using Mr. Navarrete's computer. I'm in contact with her on the text.
Can you
Great,
hear me?
thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Yeah. So my wife is a legal owner. I'm her husband, and yeah, we have some major concerns. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak. That easement that lot is set for development at some point, and when you have an easement across that property that cuts across, board members need to understand, if you're going to put a fence there, that part that's cut off, you have to do a fence straight across. So in essence, you're damaging the property by not being able to utilize the end of that lot. And there is power up and down Capitol near the airport, all the way north and south. So there is plenty of power accessibility, and right up to Eastridge, where the main bus terminal is. So we find it very hard to believe that there is no other alternative than to cut the end of our property off.
So we have a major complaint with that. We've also dealt with PG&E on this, who took a slice of that lot years ago. So now you want to enlarge basically PG&E's easement, which means that I can't put a fence there. So you have air rights, but even though it's for sway, I cannot put a fence on that easement. So when somebody puts an easement there, they've basically damaged that lot. So there, you may be talking about a small square footage there, but it's the whole back end of that lot. So therefore we say, I find it real hard to believe that with all those power lines going up and down, all the way up to Eastridge and then across north, that's the only solution. I find that very, very hard to believe. And I don't know how he can justify, and we've contacted him. We've explained our position, and basically just doesn't want to hear it and wants to go to eminent domain. So that's what I'm putting out to the board. I don't think VTA has gone through the due diligence of seeing what other alternatives are really there. It's like the least resistance there, path of resistance. So let's just do this. Let's just cut across the Montalbano lot and be done with it. But I don't think that's the right answer. I don't think that's in the best interest of us, the homeowner, the owner, and also the community. I just don't think that's the best answer.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other speakers on this item? So what I'd like to do is move to my colleagues and see if there are any questions regarding this piece of property. And I'm looking for raised hands on the panel side. What I am going to do is, I have no raised hands. I'm going to ask staff if they could respond to the issue relative to the fence.
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask Ken Ronci to address that issue.
Thank you.
All right, so can you hear me?
Yes, Ken, we can.
Okay, so all right, so this is Ken Ronci. I'm Deputy Director for VTA in the Engineering and Construction Group. And what I wanted to do is share a quick photograph, if I can, to show really the condition that we're talking about. The reality is, Mr. Montalbano is exactly right. Much effort went into minimizing impacts for all of the properties along the corridor that Ron Golem is going to walk through tonight. And so none of this was done without exhaustive care to minimize impacts. What you'll see, if I can share my screen here, is that what we're really doing is we're maintaining the existing alignment as much as we can for PG&E. And the area that we're talking about is really connecting to the existing line. So it isn't an issue of a power. It's an issue of relocation for transmission. So this is not a power question. This is a relocation of a transmission line question. And so there's really no other alternative. If I could request to get access to my photos,
Ken?
I'll show. Yeah.
Ken, this is Elaine. If you can please do the share screen. You've been given access to share your screen on your computer.
Okay, thank you. You'll see here on this graphic a alignment that is on the left side is Ocala, and the right side is really the property we're talking about at Quimby. The yellow line is the current PG&E electrical transmission tower. Unfortunately, most of that line from Cunningham all the way down to Eastridge is the exact alignment of the light rail. It is the exact same location in plan view. So the relocated line is on the east side of the roadway. That's in blue. What you'll note on the far right side is the area that is a Montalbano property. And really, it's the location where we're connecting to existing. So if we were to avoid taking the easement that we're talking about, we would really be talking about extending the yellow way beyond the limits of our job. So much so that on the far side of the screen, where the blue and the yellow converge at Quimby, everything to the right, that swath, that's already PG&E easement. So that's where we're matching. That's where we start. So really to expand it makes no feasible sense, because that's really our constraint. If I were to show this in a little more detail, I will share this photograph of why we really can't relocate it. And this is the area just to the north of the Montalbano property. And you'll notice what we're talking about. The end of the line.
Ken, one moment, Ken. We cannot see that new graphic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you,
There you
Nuria.
go.
Okay, thank you. And so what we're talking about is the existing yellow line is the line that is the existing electrical transmission. The blue is the new. So really in the area that is the Montalbano property, it's in the upper right-hand part of this graphic, right outside the screen. We're really conforming to existing. What's happening is the line is being shifted a little to the north, which is left, and east, which is up. That's causing the shift into the Montalbano property. And so there is really no way to avoid that. The design that we've done was that which took as much advantage as we can of the existing alignment, and switching back to the last photo, just to get us back to the orientation, that really, when you look at this, the end that we're talking about is already existing and constrained. So the property impacts are unavoidable.
Thank you, Ken.
And if I may add to that, just to summarize, is that, you know, in working with Ken and his team, is that really any alternative would mean affecting a much larger number of properties. And so it's really collectively a much greater impact to private property if we do other alternatives. And although compensation is not a subject for this hearing, I just want to be clear that when Mr. Montalbano talks about kind of impacts to his property, the compensation part of this, our obligation to pay fair market value, is we will compensate him for that impact to his property.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move to the next item, and that is, if I see no other questions from my colleagues, I'll move on to, is there anyone here who would like to address the board for the property ID EBRC 1237 owned by PG&E?
And Madam Chair, if I may give a brief overview of that acquisition.
Okay.
This is the second of the 5 that involves PG&E. If I could have the next slide. So the next 2 slides show the property that's in question. The first portion that you see here is acquisition of an ingress and egress easement from PG&E to access some of the electrical equipment that we'll be installing as part of the project. And as you can see, this is at Ocala and Capitol Expressway. If I could have the next slide. And then you'll see down by Cunningham that we actually need to acquire in fee interest a little bit of the corner shaded in orange there. And then we also need to acquire some temporary construction easements. And this relates to how we need to reconfigure some of the Capitol Expressway property. If I could have the next slide. We have been working with PG&E. I would characterize this is how we in PG&E do it, is that this is what we call a friendly condemnation. And so this is not an issue that there are objections by PG&E to the interest that we need here. Rather, PG&E, because of its regulatory framework, quite honestly, it actually expedites their process to respond to an eminent domain request. And so the friendly condemnation aspect of this is that we are in agreement that doing this raw and pursuing eminent domain action will result in a faster resolution than going through a different process. So to sum up, the sheet here has the information. What we're talking about is the acquisition of a fee interest of 1,917 square feet, ingress and egress easements of 1,302 square feet, and a temporary construction easement of 996 square feet. I do not believe we have a speaker. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Let me see if we do have a speaker, and we are there any questions? Let me see. I think, Eugene, this is for the property owner. So I'm going to see if there are any comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I'm going to ask Ron to continue to the next property.
Okay, thank you. So the third property is EBRC 1239 Rager Properties. If I could have the next slide. So this property is at the northeast corner of Capitol Expressway and Tully Road. And so what you can see is that in the aerial image, you see that in front of the landscaped area and kind of over the edge of the property, we need to obtain an overhead electrical easement. And then in blue, we need a temporary construction easement. So Ranger Properties is the owner of the site. The business that you see in there, if you're familiar with the area, that's the Mercedes dealership as the tenant. And so if I could have the next slide. To summarize the status, this is a little bit of an unusual situation. So we have reached agreement with the owner on the acquisition of the property. We now have a signed purchase and sale agreement. However, in order to be able to fully proceed with this, we need to obtain a waiver from the tenant. That waiver has not yet been obtained. We expect that that should happen in the near future. However, if that does not occur, we are asking for the board for resolution of necessity so that we can proceed to acquire the property. And so I just wanted to be clear that we've been working on a cooperative basis. There's really one final step. And so for us, the resolution of necessity is a backup that if we can't obtain that waiver from the tenant, we still have the ability to acquire the property. And so to sum up what we're talking about here, this property overall is 8.5 acres. The overhead electrical easement that we require is about 15,373 square feet. I do not believe there are any speakers from the property owner, and I would answer any questions.
So we have no speakers. We have no comments from my colleagues. So with that, we'll move to our next item.
Great. Thank you. So the fourth property is EPEBRC 1350. This is Pacific Bowie. And if I could have the next slide. So this is the retail center that is on the west side of Capitol from Tully Road North. And what we require is an overhead electrical easement. You can see what's shaded there is that basically that is the landscape setback of the property from Capitol Expressway. And so that new overhead electrical lines would run above the landscaped portion setback of the property. It would not be above any of the buildings that are in the center. If I could have the next slide. So what we're talking about is an 8.8 acre property. The overhead electrical easement would be approximately 14,000 square feet. To brief you on where we are in this discussion, we've engaged the owner, and it's been a cooperative discussion. I think that they are willing to work with us. What they have said is that they wish to take advantage of the opportunity we provide to owners to provide funding for them to conduct their own appraisal. They are conducting that appraisal presently, and we expect to have it shortly. However, it has not yet been received. Now, in these situations, what we often offer to the property owner is that if they will sign a possession use agreement, that allows us to get the property for construction purposes, and then we can take a longer amount of time to resolve the compensation question. The owner has stated that they would rather wait until they see the appraisal before taking that route or considering that route. And so we are here tonight to ask for the resolution of necessity. If we do need to acquire the property to maintain the project schedule, we are hopeful that once the appraisal comes in, obviously there will be some negotiation there, but given the tenor of our conversations with the owner so far, we're hopeful that we can resolve that in the relatively near future. Now, let me touch on a couple of points. I know that in the packet, there was a letter from In-N-Out. In-N-Out is one of the tenants that's on the right side of the image I was showing you before. By virtue of how we're required to do notices, the easement we're asking does not affect the property owned by In-N-Out, but I believe they have some concerns. And so since we received the letter yesterday, we've attempted to reach out to them to have a discussion and understand better their concern and provide additional project information. We have not yet been able to get in contact with them. We've left messages. I would expect that once we are able to have communications with the council, it should resolve this issue because again, their property is not directly affected by this particular acquisition. I do not believe there are speakers on this item, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
I see no speakers. Do any of my colleagues have questions on this item? I see none. Do you want to go to the last property?
Yes. Okay, so our final property, the fifth property, is EPEBRC 1346. This is property with the Santa Clara Valley Water District. And so before I start and talk about the property, I just want to provide some context as to why we're here asking for a resolution of necessity. I think it's important to acknowledge that VTA and the Water District have an ongoing relationship. We've worked on previous projects. We have other projects ahead of us. We are appreciative of staff, to be perfectly honest with you, in the past year. I think we've had very productive discussions with their staff. Their staff is very professional and capable, and I think seeks to help. Our challenge has been that the staff that we deal with does not have authority to make commitments on behalf of the district. And to be candid, our observation is that because the district has very lengthy chains of command up and down, and these discussions go across kind of multiple divisions, it is a very lengthy process to resolve items with the district. And so let me go ahead and show the interest, and I'll provide more background on the status. If I could have the next slide, please. So what you see here is Water District right-of-way. This is adjacent to Thompson Creek. What you see in red is the overhead aerial easement that we need. We need to acquire this easement from them so that we can then in turn convey it to PG&E, as well as a utility easement. If I could see the next slide. Again, you're seeing more of the same overhead electrical easement. If I had the next slide. And then this is the final section, which actually goes down to the southern end of this. And if I could have the final slide. So in total, what we're requiring is the overall property that's covered is 20 acres of Water District property. The acquisition we need is 64 square feet each of utility easements. This is for the pole foundations. And then 78,641 square feet, or a little under 2 acres, is the area covered by the overhead electrical easement. Now, we presented the offer to the Water District on January 29th. We have regular meetings with the Water District on projects. We've inquired in those meetings. We've also had separate email communications, and we've been asking the Water District for their comments and response on the offer that we had presented, including both the compensation as well as the terms and conditions of the grant deed and the easement interest we would need. We had not received any comment in response to our offer. Last night, we did receive a letter from the district, and we do have representatives of the district here to speak to this. And so in that letter we received last night, and then I think subsequently, we did not see it until just recently, but I think around that time last night or this morning, there was another letter. The first was from their engineering manager. The second is from their associate counsel, sort of setting forth their objections. I just want to note that in the letters, the district does note that while they object to this in several respects, they're also willing to negotiate. And I think we do believe that the issues can be resolved. Now, having said that, this is a very complicated situation because we have to both sort of respond to the issues that the Water District has, but we also have to respond to the requirements of PG&E because ultimately PG&E needs the easement for the power lines. And PG&E has fairly fixed and inflexible standards on these things. And so our challenge right now is, if going back to my schedule, we really need to start this work by the end of August. And so I think what we would hope would occur going forward from this point is, one, we do think it's important for the board to adopt the resolution necessity to emphasize the importance of this acquisition and the importance of the project and signal the district that we need to wrap this up as quickly as possible. The other thing we would hope to get from the district is a commitment from it to involve in subsequent discussions representatives who have authority to make commitments on behalf of the district, along with their counsel. And we would seek to involve counterparts from PG&E as well as VTA so that we can jointly work together to quickly expedite a resolution of these matters in a manner that will work for PG&E, that will be acceptable to the district, and will allow us to advance the project.
Thank you.
So
Is there anything else? Ron? Thank you, Ron. Ron, we have two speakers who are on our speaker board. One is Nick Muscolino, and the other is Eugene Bradley. But what I want to do is see if the property owner, because they get 5 minutes if they're a property owner, a representative of the property owner. Nick, are you a property owner or a representative of the property owner?
Nick, you have been unmuted. Please accept the unmute.
Yes, I am here on behalf of the property owner.
Okay, so go ahead, Nick.
Good evening, honorable board members. I am here on behalf of the Santa Clara Valley Water District. Assistant District Counsel Joe Ronda and Engineering Unit Manager Usha Chatwani are also available. I guess first I'd like to echo Mr. Gollum's point at the outset that the Valley Water does have every desire to cooperate with VTA and believes that we can negotiate a mutually acceptable resolution of this dispute. But we do have some significant operational concerns with the project as designed. I don't know that Valley staff would agree with Mr. Gollum's characterization of the back and forth the negotiations that have happened before, but I don't know that we need to get into that now. So what I really wanted to communicate to you here, and is described in the letter that was submitted last night, was that this project has some significant operational concerns for Valley Water. The channel that you saw in that overhead photograph a moment ago is heavily impacted by sediment, such that every 2 to 3 years, Valley Water has to do a project, a 5 to 6 week long project with a row of dump trucks, including a long reach excavator that requires at least 30 feet of clearance in order to do this project. The project involves moving sediment 3 to 4 feet deep, 300 to 400 feet wide for a half-mile long. So this is a big project. And the issue that we're having is with the proposed alignment right now does cross and also parallel Thompson Creek. And so you can imagine Valley Water's concerns with clearance and its ability to do this project going forward. So our concern is that the project be designed in a way that accommodates our need for clearance. Now, we submitted an objection letter objecting to specifically the legal descriptions that are attached to the resolution of necessity last night. And, you know, as I said, Valley Water has every intention of continuing to cooperate and negotiate with VTA moving forward, but we do need to lodge those concerns now in order to preserve them going forward. Some of our major concerns with the legal descriptions here, one is for the overhead easement, there's no minimum clearance specified, so that goes to the issue that I just mentioned. Also, the RON seems to seek to condemn more interests that are required for this project. For example, it seems to allow Valley Water, VTA or its assignee to lease these telephone poles to telecommunications providers, presumably entities like PG&E or Verizon Wireless or any others. And you know, our concern is that that could pose operational difficulties if these other entities are using Valley Water's property to access the pole. It could pose traffic, safety, and operational concerns. Another concern we have with the proposed language is that it seems to require the parties to agree on an underground easement for electric, water, and communication facilities that isn't described in these easements and wasn't appraised or offered as compensation to VTA. And together with that undescribed underground, presumably easement, is the right to remove brush and trees, as well as prohibitions on what Valley Water can do with that property. That's an additional concern. We're also not clear why, for example, these electricity poles would need water. It's not clear from the project description why that's necessary. And finally, just as in my closing minutes, we also believe the government code offer was not valid because it didn't appraise a couple of the property interests that were referenced in the easements attached to the resolution necessity. So I'll just close by saying, you know, Valley Water has every intention and desire to cooperate with VTA and believes that we can reach a mutually agreeable solution to this. But you know, we respectfully request that the board continue this hearing or defer a run at this time and give parties additional time to negotiate a settlement and design that accommodates both parties. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'm now going to see if there are any members of the public who would like to speak on this. I did want to make sure that the property owners got to speak. Well, I'm sorry. First, let me see if there are any questions from staff on that particular issue. Evelyn? I mean, from the board or staff. Evelyn, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, thank you. So we received a secondary letter this morning from the Water District that we did not have an opportunity to formally respond in writing. So what's in the packet was a response to their letter yesterday. The letter from today came from their council, which raised specific objections to the adoption of the RON. And I just want to generally address some of those objections for the administrative record. if I may. They have raised that the project isn't planned or located in the manner that is compatible with the greatest good and the least private injury. What I want to point out to the board that in assessing that particular finding, the board should look at the project as a whole and not to the specific impact of any one particular property. So I think as Ron had mentioned in his presentation today, that to change the acquisition for one project, it may impact other projects, other properties in this particular project. That's one. I also want to point out for the record that a condemning agency does have a leeway. It's vested with the right to plan and engineer its project and what it requires to meet the needs of those for that project. The other objection that was raised, and in this particular instance, and that does not apply to the other properties, the other 4 properties, is that this is this particular land is currently used as a public use. And one of the specific findings that the board needs to make for this particular acquisition, this particular RON, is that VTA has a greater necessity for this property, for its project, or the public use that VTA is acquiring for is compatible with what is the current public use by the water district. And as Ron had pointed out, this area currently is a trail, and it's a creek. What we're acquiring are 2 small areas for the transmission poles, the electrical poles, and aerial easement for the transmission lines. We believe that these are compatible uses, and to the extent that we cannot come to an agreement as to how we can work together or coexist in the same area, there are provisions in the Code of Civil Procedure that allows the court to impose those terms and conditions. So there's contemplation in the law for the parties to reach an agreement for joint use. And if they can't come to that agreement, the court will impose the provisions for joint use. So with that, I will take any questions you may have in that regard.
Thank you. So I have, Ron, did you also want to speak?
I just wanted to make comment in response to some of the points that were raised by the speaker. I think that, that's some of the issues that are raised are a good summary of the issues that we do need to address. I think just to help the board understand sort of the process here, because we need to convey the property to PG&E, we have to start with PG&E's easement language because that's what they'll accept. And so a lot of the comments are not in respect to what VTA wants, but what PG&E requires. And so I say that just to underscore that really what has to happen here is there's really a three-way negotiation that has to occur between the district, VTA, and PG&E to get to a resolution that's acceptable to all. The reason that we are doing this now and that we are not able to continue it to the next meeting is that, as I mentioned earlier, we need to start this work by the end of August, and so time is very pressing. We really need to wrap this up within the next couple of weeks. If we were to delay this to the June board meeting in terms of the resolution necessity, if we had to file a resolution necessity at that point, we would not be able to make the construction window, and we would be looking at a minimum of 6 months or more in project delay.
Thank you. I'm now going to go to public comment, and each speaker will get 1 minute to speak, seeing no other hands from my colleagues. So we're going to get 1 minute to speak, and if the clerk will begin that public comment section.
Yes, Eugene, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, this is Eugene again. Just one question regarding all these drawings and schematics. I wonder if VTA has properly worked with PG&E, the water district, to properly make sure that all of the easements in terms of all the utility lines have been documented. The reason I ask this is based on history. many of your staff will recall and board members recall the 2015 delays regarding the Alum Rock BRT line, in which a contractor hit a gas line that they didn't even know was even there, resulting in years of delays and lots of frustrated merchants. So I was wondering how VTA is ensuring that they've worked properly with the utilities to document all of the utilities in easements before buying these properties. I just don't want a situation in which this whole thing is delayed even more, as with a lot of these Bay Area transit projects. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more speaker on this item.
Robert, I'm going to unmute you and you may speak. You've got 1 minute.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. Just from I know we're a small landlord compared to everybody else, but if I was a board member, it seems collectively that we have not had ongoing dialogue. Just so you know, we have not had ongoing dialogue. We are against the easement for the reasons I spoke before, but looking at all the difficulties that are happening here with all the other owners, how can the board and the cost involved, not only with us, we're so small, but we're gonna go through eminent domain. How can you collectively say, yeah, let's go ahead, let's go forward with this? You've got so many issues with so many owners and so many other big pieces of property. And is it engineered properly and in the best interest of the community? What are the alternatives to all this? It seems like you are just told by Ron, this is the way it should go without any other options. I don't know if you've explored the other options and the cost benefit.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I had asked if the board had any comments. I'm going to go back to the board one last time as I see a hand. I'm going to ask my colleagues, this would be the time to speak. If you would like to speak, I'm going to go to John McAllister, and that's the only hand up I have right now.
I have some questions here, so hopefully you could help me better understand it. The gentleman's comment about other options. So we directed the staff to look at other options other than the light rail to use this particular segue, and have they looked at other options when they were considering the eminent domain or taking the right of way from these other properties? Had that option been considered?
Sure. Thank you, Member McAllister. So to explain, when we went through the planning process, and during the planning process, we had reached out to all the property owners and had multiple rounds of public engagement. That planning process looked at project alternatives. Board made a decision to certify the environmental document for the light rail extension, and that's the beginning point for all the engineering work that has happened. Now, at the point the board certified the environmental document, the board certifies the maximum potential impact for the project. The process we do within VTA, both in my department, working with the engineering team, is to really scrub that and identify how we can shrink those impacts. Because again, the burden on us as an agency is to ultimately demonstrate the need for the project and the public benefits, but to also balance that by minimizing the impact of private property. And so what we are doing for the project and for the individual property to see tonight, this is the outcome of what is the smallest project and impacts that will fulfill the environmental clearance that was approved by the board, and that will minimize the private property acquisitions. That is how we got to this point.
So if when the staff finishes their looking at options, you may not need all those areas of right of way, is what you're saying. You're just sort of trying to get an idea, but we may not need all of it.
So at the time that when we do the planning, and at the time we do the board adopts the clearance, the environmental clearance for the project, at that point we've identified and have studied the impact of the maximum potential set of properties that might be needed. Our process after that, and what we've been doing since the board's authorization last year, is working to see how we can reduce that set of properties that we need to the minimum amount of impact, and that's where we are today.
Okay. My next question is, and this is one that's some clarity helped. because in the staff report, there is purpose of the project, and it was to increase ridership in this severely and ever increasing congested corridor by providing expanded traffic capacity and faster convenient access. But when we had the CEQA report, it said the opposite, that by putting this particular project in, it was going to make congestion worse for those people in cars, and that the ridership was pretty low. So how do we get a staff report that says it's going to help congestion, yet we got a CEQA report that says it's going to make it worse?
I think I might I'll offer a comment. I might ask the general counsel to kind of follow up after that. So again, the beginning point for the process is the planning process we went through and the board's adoption of the environmental document. And so at that point, all of the impacts, the trade-offs, costs and benefits have been studied, and the board selected an alternative and adopted the document. Going forward to this point, all of the work that we do, all the documents that you're referring to, this is really the process set out in the law, is that we have to base it on what was in that environmental document and the analysis. So everything that we've done to this point and what we have in front of you tonight is consistent with that environmental clearance and the document that the board adopted.
Okay, well, okay, I guess I didn't understand that, because under your thing, need for this project was to take care of the increasing congestion. And that's what the CEQA report said. You're going to increase congestion. So how can you say we need this project if it's increasing congestion from the CEQA report?
I'm hearing, go ahead, Evelyn.
Thank you. So in the immediate area of the project, Member McAllister, we will be removing one of the lanes in order to accommodate the aerial guideway. So in that immediate area, there will be increased congestion. However, as a regional connector and overall light rail that connects to BART, it will be a way to manage congestion within the area, the larger area, and not just within the project limits. So I think that's the difference. One is a regional look at it, and the other is just within the project limits that the CEQA document was looking at in regard to the removal of the lane to accommodate the aerial guideway.
So the CEQA document.
If Ken is still, actually, if Ken is still available, he could probably provide the engineering and design on that.
But may I just, before Ken jumps in, John, did you want to finish your thought?
Yeah, well, I had a few more questions. So I can, when he comes along with that. I was looking at the necessity, resolution of necessity said financial compensation wasn't going to be considered. But in the light of our financial straits right now, how can we look at a project that we don't know what's going to cost and have the board say, we're giving you a blank check to buy items? Because when we get down to item 7.4, we're going to look at an operating budget of minus $34 million. So how can you justify giving you a right to do something when we don't know what the cost is going to be? I mean, it could be much larger than we anticipated. So help me understand your thought on that process.
So for that one, if I could, I'm going to ask Nuria if she wants to jump in, but or Ron, I don't know. Nuria, who would you prefer to take that?
Let me start off, and then I will just I'll really turn to Ken to talk a little bit more about the project. Mr. McAllister, as you may recall, this project is funded from the 2000 Measure A funding, and it's a capital project, so it doesn't have any impact on our operating budget. So your reference to the item under 7.4, just wanted for clarification, make sure that there was that clear distinction. We're talking about capital dollars for a capital project that the board has adopted. Within that budget for that project, we have contemplated the property acquisition, and is within that line item that Ron Golem is making reference. We also have Regional Measure 3 funds that are supporting this project, again, from a capital funding revenue source.
Well, things are always fluid, so that's why I was asking the question, just because we identified they haven't been appropriated yet. So, okay. And I know a couple of the owners of the property said you haven't showed proof yet, so I guess that's going to come along. And Okay, so those are my comments right now. Thank you.
John. I'm going to go to Vice Chair Hendricks.
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion when you're ready.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do that. If you could make a motion, and I'm going to make a request of the motion maker, and that is to take properties 1, 2, 3, and 4 in one motion and take the Valley Water District in a second motion. My husband works for the Water District, and while I don't have a conflict, just in an abundance of caution, I will be recusing myself from that vote. Glenn, would you like to make that motion?
Okay, so
Madam Chair, I did have a question. I have my hand raised.
Yeah, Glenn had his hand raised before you did, so I'm going to take the motion and then I'll come to you for questions. I'll continue to take questions, but I'd like to
thank you.
at least have a motion on the table.
Okay, I'm ready to make the first motion, which is I move that we adopt a resolution of necessity determining that the public interest and necessity require the acquisition of the property interest from 4 properties. EBRC 1392 owned by Carolyn Malta-Bono et al. EBRC 1239 owned by Rager Properties. EBR 1350 owned by Pacific Bowie El Cerrito. I think that was 4, didn't I? Yeah, that's the first 4.
Remember, Vice Chair Hendricks, this is Elaine. What about EB 1237?
Thank you, Elaine. I was just going to say.
I'm sorry. Okay, I missed one. EBRC 1237 owned by PG&E. Sorry.
Thank you. That is a motion. Do we have a second? We have no seconder.
Second.
A second from Lund. Yep, thank you. And then we'll go to questions on the motion. I'll begin with Bob Nunez.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to ask Ron, I wanted to, if you could explain again the relationship between, when you said with the Valley Water District VTA and PG&E was really like a 3-way negotiations or conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that PG&E is also up in EBRC 1237. So is it every time a PG&E is involved, it's that same 3-way negotiations? And if you could explain that to me again,
Sure.
just so I understand really what that relationship is.
I think it's a good question. This is a little bit complicated. So really the 2 parcels are separate issues. So where we are acquiring property from PG&E is because we need some of their property to make improvements that are part of our project, and that we are doing the construction and it's part of the design. What's different in the other parcels that involve the water district is that in that situation, we are looking to acquire those interests and we will turn around and convey it to PG&E because PG&E needs those interests for it to do the power line work to install the poles. And so that's where it's a little bit different. Now, it is true that we work with PG&E on many projects, and pretty much every project has a pretty significant role for PG&E for obvious reasons. So PG&E always starts with kind of their standard approach to doing easements. I think what's different here is that I think some of the points that were made by the district do have validity in terms of concerns about how it may relate to their activities and what they're doing. And so from our perspective, and this is not unusual in property acquisition, we know what we need for the project. We know what we need to get from the owner. We know what we need to convey to their party. And so ultimately you just have to figure out how do we revise the approach so that it really works for all 3 entities.
Bob,
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, it did. Thank you very much.
You bet. Larry?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Ron, I just wanted to follow up on Board Member McAllister's questions on the timing, the schedule, and design. And you kept referring to your work has been to reduce the minimum impact of the project. Right. But what is the project that we're talking about? Is it designing it for today's light rail? Or is it thinking about what many members of the board, including myself, said, I'm supporting this project, but we need to bring back other ideas rather than today's light rail?
So when I make reference to the project, I'm talking about the project that was described in the environmental document as adopted by the board of directors. That is the project that I'm referring to.
Okay. So, okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So with that, I have no other hands raised. I'm going to ask, we have a motion and a second on the floor. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
To the maker and the seconder of the motion, I just wanted to clarify that your motion includes closing the hearing and adopting the resolutions of necessity for the first four properties. Did I get that correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So motion was made by Vice Chair Hendricks, seconded by Board Member Diep. I'll start the roll call now. Carr?
No.
Carr is no. Carrasco?
Yes.
Yes. Carrasco, yes. Board Member Cortese is absent. Diep?
Aye.
Diep, yes. Jones?
Aye.
Jones, yes. Ricardo?
Aye.
Ricardo, yes. McAllister?
I haven't seen enough proof. No.
Ricardo, no.
No.
Nunez?
Yes.
Sorry. McAllister, no.
Well, maybe
Nunez?
the mayor may want to change his mind.
So if you're still asking, Nunez, it's yes.
Nunez is yes. Perales?
Yes.
Perales is Perales?
Yes.
Yes.
Perales is yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Rennie's yes. Hendricks?
Yes.
Hendricks is yes. Chavez?
Yes.
Chavez is yes. The vote passed with 9 yeses and 2 noes and 1 absent.
Thank you. Glenn, I'll let you take the last one.
Okay, I'll try and say it the way Elaine wants it said. So I move that we close the hearing and adopt a resolution of necessity determining the public interest and necessity require the acquisition of property interest from one property owner. And let me try and scroll to the correct one. EBRC owned by Santa Clara Valley Water District.
We have a motion. Oh, sorry.
Second. You did the right thing.
Did I hear the second from Board Member Jones?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Chair, do you want me to do this?
Yes.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second. Are there any other comments that my colleagues would like to make? And if you would just speak up because I'm not seeing your hands. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. I'm not seeing any comments from my colleagues. So then could we go ahead and ask for a voice vote?
All right, this is the motion to close and adopt the resolution of necessity for EBRC 1346. Motion made by Vice Chair Hendricks, seconded by Board Member Jones. I will start the roll call vote now. Carr?
No.
Carr is no. Carrasco?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
Yes.
Carrasco is yes. Cortese is absent. Diep?
Aye.
Is yes. Jones?
Aye.
Jones is yes. Ricardo?
Aye.
Ricardo is yes. McAllister?
Mayor, you sure? McAllister, no.
McAllister is no. Nunez?
Yes.
Nunez is yes. Perales?
Yes.
Perales, yes. Rennie?
No.
Rennie's no. Hendricks?
Yes.
Chavez?
I'm abstaining from this vote.
Abstain. We actually need 8 votes to pass this. Right now, we only have 7 yeses and 3 noes and 1 recusal and 1 absent.
So that fails. And I'm not sure, I guess what we'll do is it fails and we'll send it back to staff to try to work with PG&E and the water district and or bring this back once you've had at least one opportunity to communicate with them. All right. Thank you for all of your patience through that. I know that's a lot of moving parts. We're moving on to committee report. And this is item 5. And moving on to this item, there are no reports from items.
Yes,
I'm going to ask people to go on mute. No reports for items 5.1 and 5.2. So we'll move to 5.3. And this is the Admin and Finance Committee Chair report will be provided by Board Member Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Administration and Finance Committee met on April 16th via teleconference We reviewed and recommended placing agenda items 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3 on tonight's consent agenda. We also received an update on VTA's financial status, and we as a committee have requested that a financial report be provided to the committee on a monthly basis. And we also requested that the board be updated on 2016 Measure B program category allocations on a regular basis. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on that report? John McAllister?
Yeah, my question, if it's similar on the phase 4, that's 3 lanes of highway at that point on the freeway. Is that correct?
John, what item are you on?
6.1.
Oh, do you want to respond to that, Larry?
We do have Casey Emoto, Chief Engineering and Program Delivery Officer, is with us tonight. He could answer any questions.
Well, and we're not on consent yet, but what
I'm sorry. That's what I was.
No, he was giving a report, but just leading us into consent.
Okay, I can hold it off if you like.
Well, what we could do is, since we have no other reports, we'll go to the consent calendar right now. And this is 6.1 through 6.11. Would you like to remove 6.1 from consent, John?
Yes, please.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
You have 2 members of the public who wanted to speak, I believe, on the committee reports.
All right. I see them, but all right. Roland and Blair, were you wanting to speak on the committee report? Would you begin with Roland?
Yes, please. Thank you. Very briefly, through the chair, I don't understand. I'm very familiar with the PAC, but I don't know what the PAB is, so which is 5.4. So if somebody on staff could reach out to me and help me out to understand the difference. And the last point is that the reason you do not have a report on 5.2 is that you haven't had a PAC meeting for the last 2 months. And that's the real issue that needs to be addressed at the earliest opportunity, actually as a matter of emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. Blair?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for what you just went through with the previous item. Thank you very much for the thoughtfulness of that. For this item, I attended the April 16th meeting, and I'm in agreement with Roland and Eugene that I hope that it being May that you can begin the process of how to develop more committee meetings for the VTA and in June and July and August, hopefully. And so thank you for your time, and thank you for hearing me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to move on then to our consent calendar. We're removing item 6.1 from consent, and that is a HNTB contract. Are there any other removals from the consent calendar? I'm going to go to the panel right now. John, is that all you had?
I had a question on 6.10, and that was that was a general update on.
Do you want to ask it now, or do you want it removed from consent?
I just had a question. It was
okay,
just a clarifying question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so on 6.10A, it was Measure A money, and then there was a line item for the San Jose Airport People Mover, and I wonder what the status was on that, or has that been closed out?
Mr. McAllister, this is Nuria Fernandez. The project has not been closed out. I'm going to ask Deborah DeGang, who is joining us, to give us an update or a referral back to the City of San Jose, who's handling the project. Deborah?
Deborah, you're on mute.
Thank you. I've gotten off mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yes, as General Manager Fernandez referred to, this item is now with the City of San Jose, and we are talking to them about potential options moving forward that could fit into this category.
Okay. And Madam Chair, 6.4, I'd just like to make a comment also on 6.4.
Please.
Okay. I'm very proud of item 6.4, and I appreciate the efforts of the Governance and Audit Committee to moving this forward. This was an item that came about because of our ad hoc committee on board governance. And this was one of our first items that is coming through to the board to make the job of the VTA council a little more efficient, reduce time for the board to approve particular procedures. And it's the beginning, hope of many recommendations that are reviewed and accepted by the board. And this was the one that allowed the general counsel to go after, start litigation to recover money that is owed to VTA. And so I hope everybody takes 6.4, and I'm glad that this process has started.
We added in G&A that this would have an annual report out component to it. So thank you for that. I'm going to now go to Mayor Liccardo.
Hi, I just wanted to add a question on 6.1 when that gets pulled.
Okay. And then Glenn Hendricks.
I'm ready to make a motion on the consent calendar whenever you're ready. And I don't know if you want to go to public comment first.
No, please do. That way there's people know what's in and out of the motion. Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like 6.1 has been pulled. So I move the consent calendar 6.2 through 6.11.
Great. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. We have a second from Bob Nunez. We'll now go to more board comment. Larry Carr.
Super quick question on 6.10. It references in Caltrain, improve Caltrain, electrify from Palo Alto to Gilroy. Is that a mistake? Or am I reading it wrong?
Deborah's going to respond.
And Deborah, it's on it's on page 3 of 3 on the memo, right at the top. Improve Caltrain, double track to Gilroy, and electrify from Palo Alto to Gilroy.
Let me look into that and get back to you. I don't know
That's
yet.
perfectly fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any more comments on the motion? I see none. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, this roll call vote is for the items on the consent agenda, items 6.2 through 6.11. Motion made by Vice Chair Hendricks, seconded by Board Member Nunez. Carr?
Yes.
Carrasco?
Aye.
Cortese is absent. Dieppe?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Liccardo?
Aye.
McAllister?
Yes.
Nunez?
Yes.
Peralez?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passed with 11 yes votes and 1 absent.
Thank you very much. Now, what I want to do is we pulled off 6.1, and let me just say to my colleagues that we estimate.
Chair, may I interrupt for a second? Sorry. We have 2 members of the public who wanted to speak on consent.
Oh, thank you. I'll go right to them. I just wanted to say, all right, well, let's take Roland and Blair. And then I wanted to I'll just say it right now. So right now, you all have been asking me to manage the meetings and keep them tight. What I'm going to request is that both from staff to be concise and from the folks who are asking questions to be very clear and concise. And I'm sharing that because it looks like this is a meeting that could go till 9 o'clock. And I'm trying to be respectful of your time as well. So I'm going to get a little more clippy. And so I thank you for catching my skipping the public comment, but I just wanted to say this as we go into the rest of the meeting. And I'm also saying to staff that I'd like their presentations to be refined as well. Roland and then Blair.
Roland, I am muting you, accept the unmute, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. So on 6.4, I mentioned earlier that the reason you're doing this is because you basically don't want to go to closed session right at the end of the meeting and everybody's gone home and you've lost quorum. This is basically what this is about, okay? I'm asking that you report on these actions by council on a monthly basis, just for the record and for transparency. On the 610, this was supposed to go to the PAC in March and to the full board in April. If you approve this item, it will mean that you consent to a BART phase 1 overall overrun approaching $1 billion and funded entirely by measuring sales taxes. That's what I'm putting across to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Blair?
Blair, I am unmuting you. Please accept, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, I wanted to speak about items 6.2 and 6.3. 6.3 is another electric power deal along First Avenue. To thank you again that I'm impressed that you're making the efforts to you know, you need a bit more time to think about these issues, and so I thank you immensely for that. With item 6.2 is Measure B ideas. I wanted to just thank you and compliment yourselves for your efforts to want to create green new models. That we're doing this work back in January, and it was very heroic and it was very independent of the VTA, and I think it made quite an interesting statement, and I thank you for that, and that we're all trying to grapple with how to work with that issue, and it makes it interesting. Thank you, and that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is we're going to then take the roll call vote on this.
For consent, Madam Chair, we already did.
Oh, then what were they speaking on?
We just missed them, so we gave them the opportunity
I'm so
to
sorry,
speak.
guys. I'm so sorry I did that to you. All right. Can we take 6.1 right now, if that's all right with staff? And we had 2 board members that had questions on this item. So I'll go to John and Sam and then to Glenn.
My question was, yeah, how many lanes of freeway is that this related to phase 4?
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask Casey Moto to address that question.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Casey, Chief Engineering and Program Delivery Officer. So there are 8 lanes on Highway 101, which connect to 6 lanes on State Route 85. There is a connector that goes from 101 to 85, which adds an additional lane each direction, but there's no lanes being added as part of this project. It's a conversion of existing carpool lanes.
No, that's what I'm saying. So the project goes from 101 to 87?
But yeah, it goes, it's converting a segment of 85 that's adjacent to the existing light rail. That's correct.
And that goes 87. Okay.
Yes.
Madam Chair, do you want comments or wait until Sam asks their questions?
No, we're doing it all at one time.
Okay. I'm not going to support 6.1, the same as I didn't support 2. When we had the fast lane on 237, because yes, the express lane may go, but the general purpose lanes were backed up. So we had a follow-up report on that. And this again is sort of a regressive tax. So for those reasons, I will not support allocating any more money.
Thank you. Mayor Liccardo?
Hi, thank you. Just a question on 6.1. With regard to phase 4 now going into final design, I know this is a question that's been dealt with before, but I just want to understand clearly. Phase 4 will get us from 85, from 101 up to 87, but 87 is not included in on the many segments that would be part of future phases of express lanes. And I'm just trying to understand, to clarify, why 87 wouldn't be included in the list.
So the ones that are shown, including on the map, those are the ones that we have that are completed environmental clearance.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the next segments that we can move into design. Longer term wise, we would be looking at converting majority of the existing carpool lanes to express lanes operations, but that's not part of the current work.
Well, if you look at the map in the report, it actually describes all the segments that are in quote unquote future phases. And so we see all of 101, we see all of 85. We don't see anything in 87. Like it's not even on the radar.
It's not part of this work, but it's part of the countywide plan and the regional transportation plan. As a conversion of everything else, including 280, 680, 87, the extension on 880 down to 101.
All right, so it is a future phase.
Casey, you froze on us. Oh, could you respond to that question again? Is it in a future phase?
It's, I'd say it's in the rest of everything else would be at a planning level, but not beyond that.
Okay, maybe I'll take this offline. I have to admit I'm not totally clear, but we can discuss further offline. Thank you.
Glenn.
Are you ready for a motion?
I am.
I move that we go forward with 6.1.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And the second is from Larry Carr. We have one speaker, public speaker, and we'll take that public speaker and then we'll take the vote.
Roland, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. So let me explain to you exactly what 6.1 does. What it does is to allow non-carpoolers to pay for the privilege of bypassing the Caltrans metering lights, which are there right there to stop 101 traffic flooding onto northbound 85, and then when it gets to 87, flooding Highway 87. That's what that does. Why are we doing this now? I have no idea. And one last point to the question Member Carr had earlier. The electrification between Palo Alto and Gilroy is what we all voted for back in 2000 Measure 8. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we'll take a roll call vote.
Okay, this roll call vote is for item number 6.1, motion made by Vice Chair Hendricks, seconded by Member Carr. Carr?
Yes.
Carrasco?
Yes.
Member Cortese is absent. Dieppe?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Ricardo?
Aye.
McAllister?
No.
Nunez?
Yes.
Perales?
Yes.
Brenny?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Chavez?
Yes.
Motion passed with 10 yes vote, 1 no vote from Member McAllister, and Board Member Cortese is absent.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to move on to we're just getting to the regular agenda, folks. So focus with me. We're going to begin with Silicon Valley Rapid Transit. So for those members of the public who would like to address the board on these items, you can start to put your hand up now. And Takis, I think, is going to give us a brief report.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah,
You're unmuted.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. We are coming to you from our construction office in Milpitas. To my left, I have Shane Edwards, the guardrail acceptance officer. And to my right, I have Krishna Dev, VTA staff, the assistant director for this program. I hope to brief you again from this side for one more time in June, because June 30th, we are out of this site here, since all construction activities, pretty much 99.8% have been completed. Tonight, however, I'd like to show you page 2, Elaine, page 2, and to update you on these 6 items which happened since the last time we met. On April 20th, BART initiated, as was planned, a pre-revenue operations. Trains are moving every 15 minutes. Shane Edwards will explain to you how many train runs we have done so far and how the results look like. Traction power system, Some of you recall we had a lot of problems back in a day. We are all done. The traction power system is completed, energized, and be validated. Train control, we need 10 more days, and we're gonna get that done too. No concerns here. The critical, the vital items have been completed. The stations are being cleaned up and prepared to be ready for passenger service. I understand there is a joint committee between BART and VTA. They're working on the opening ceremonies and so on. And the last item, which is still in front of us, but we're progressing as planned very well, is the CPUC system certification. Elaine, on page 3, this is the 4 items which I've been briefing you for the last few months. And the first item here is the framework to passenger service. Elaine. You can see there are not any more bars to go here. We are pretty much getting to the finish line. The red diamond you see here is because of the CPUC certification, and that has, on the general order, has time. So I'm going to ask my colleague Shane Edwards from BART to give you a quick couple minutes of an update on this. Shane?
Good evening, directors. A couple of highlights from the framework slide. Pre-revenue training and operations simulation, as Takis had mentioned, is ongoing. We have almost 800 train runs accomplished so far in the 11 days of PRO. And this week was training train operators that did not get into the first training bid. So training will be completed at the end of this week, and we will resume PRO next week. From the VTA assemble and submit safety certification report at the bottom of your schedule, this is an effort in paperwork right now at this time, and documentation retention, and also signatures. But we are starting Monday, we will be in a mode where we are attempting to tie a bow on this project, so to speak. And I'll explain more in further slides. Next slide, please. This is the risk matrix that you've all seen. Some of the highlights on this is the red square has only 2 items at this time. We moved the resolve revenue required discrepancies down to orange, and we'll explain that in slide number 7 later on. We left monitor ATC and RIDS testing in orange, as well as contractors' performance, only because the contractors will not be fully completed with all of their testing until Saturday this weekend. And then there's, as I mentioned, they will have deliverables of a large amount of paperwork to the project. One thing of note I wanted to mention in the yellow box, the smoke or ventilation demonstration that you see there, that was completed this morning with great success. We had participation from the CPUC, the Milpitas Fire Department, BART, and VTA, and our contractors on scene. And we tested both platforms in different scenarios, and everybody at the end of the testing gave us a thumbs up. And that was basically the last step of that exercise that we'll go forward. We'll close out the discrepancy on that. And we've got another obstacle or hurdle that we've attained and moved forward through. Next slide, Krishna.
Good evening, directors. This is Krishna Dave. The slide you see is a financial profile. This cost update, as we always present to you, is in FTA standard cost category. This is the information we share with FTA PMO on a monthly basis. What you see is a cost incurred through the month of March 2020. About $14 million were booked during the month. The forecast reflects the revenue service date of May 31st. VTA has initiated demobilization activities. As Takis just mentioned, we will be out of this building by end of the month, June. you will notice that the unallocated contingency, it remains at $44.7 million. No change since the last report. Back to you, Shane.
On slide 7, you'll see the progression of our discrepancy resolution. Things that I wanted to point out on this is that this is a direct reflection of what's happened in the last couple of weeks. We have made a severe dent in this. As of today, we are down to 25 discrepancies, and I'll review some closures with you right now. For example, the electrical, traction power, and mechanical elements of the project are 100% completed. Train control will be complete next week, and training and RIDS will be completed at the end of next week. These items are, as I had mentioned, this is where we're at right now in this operation, and it's on the home stretch here. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, traction power systems, as most of you had probably heard in other board meetings, it was a struggle. As I'd mentioned, though, last Thursday, we did complete this, and then BART completed their phase 3 testing on Tuesday of this week. This was a big milestone, as well as the others that I've mentioned. Next slide. Train control, as I'd mentioned, the contractor will be completed on Saturday. They have a short testing window that needs to be completed that works with the RIDS train control interface. That was a simple algorithm solution that needed to happen there. That software is downloaded on Saturday, and we expect that to go well. Right now, they are in static testing, and that will complete their testing. BART has 3 more shifts to test, hence the reason why we feel like we will be completed with train control in the middle of next week. Next slide, please. Revenue operations. It's a good looking map right there. As I had mentioned, we've run almost 800 train runs in 11 days of PRO. We will continue full pre-revenue operations simulation back up on Monday. We had a small lull because of some training that had to be made up. We have met our training goal for the train operators. We are at 89% as of today. That goal was 75% to meet the safety certification. We are running trains on a 15-minute headway in a 3-train loop. And this is a reflection of what ATU is going to be bidding on. And that is the schedule that they will bid. Next slide. As I mentioned, the bid, it did go out on Monday night to ATU for review. That review timeframe is approximately 8 to 10 days. We have met with ATU numerous times prior to them receiving the bid package to try and reduce any delays. Right now, the update that I got this morning was that everything is on schedule, and we are still shooting for the bid opening and bid closing as you see depicted in this slide. Next slide, please. Safety certification is our next hurdle and what we're going to really be pushing hard for in the next 2.5 weeks. The picture that you see is a BART truck that we picked up the O&M manuals from Milpitas here and delivered them to LKS in Oakland. I think it was around 72 or 75 boxes of material. We are still planning some rules and procedures, some training, some emergency drills. Those will be the stress tests that we produce during PRO in the coming weeks. Those types of things are normal, and we will deal with those if there are any eventualities as needed. It's a normal part of our procedure. We have regular meetings with the CPUC every Monday, as well as there's a monthly meeting for the SSRC committee. And we have ongoing conversations with them, and communication is going well. As I mentioned, they were part of the ventilation demonstration this morning. They had 4 representatives there. And as I mentioned, Milpitas Fire Department had multiple people there. I believe they had 7 attendees. We do fully expect to have a full certification package ready for signatures on May 15th. We'll circulate that for signatures that week of the 18th with a expectation to be ready to deliver that on the 22nd of May. Next slide.
And no more slides.
Well, let me start by saying to Krishna and Shane and Takas, thank you so much. And I know there's a big team of people working behind you. So thank you very much for your tenacity. That's probably the very best word I can use. We have a number of public speakers on this item. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the public speakers. This is not an action item, but I'm going to take the public speakers. Then I will go to the board. So I'll begin with public speakers. And so if any of you are interested in speaking on this item, this would be the time to sign up to do that. I'll now turn it over to the clerk to begin inviting people to participate.
The first three speakers will be Monica, Aleta, and Jamie. Monica, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I really appreciate everything that you've done to take another look at this project, and I really want to encourage you to look at even more ways to reduce the cost of this extension, including considering cut and cover and canceling the portion from Dearborn to Santa Clara, which would duplicate Caltrain and bus service. You know, we really need to think about how to use our resources in the best possible way. One line will not give us the transit network that we need. And we really need to make sure that we are creating a complete transit system that allows people to travel throughout the Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Aleta, I am unmuting you. Accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Chavez and members. Aleta, for the record, this is very, very important to me. The last time I saw you in person was at a joint BART VTA meeting at your headquarters. Very informative. So I see that we are really starting to close the gap and resolve these discrepancies because I know the system that I am waiting for will be very, very helpful to me. And while it won't get me all the way to downtown San Jose, it will get me quite close where I can then join into the VTA bus system. I ask that you stay the course with this because it's not over until it's over. And 99% does not constitute completion, but we are indeed getting there. This project is not just important, and it can be not only world-class, but it can be a key to making this system a railroad that is great and legendary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dupree. Jamie, you are next. Following Jamie will be Roland, Eugene, and David.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm a lead of Silicon Valley Youth Climate Strikes. Many people are unemployed because of the pandemic, and they will likely have to sell their cars to pay rents and bills. I understand that you have some very tough decisions to make and a lot of things to consider, and I would urge you to look at highway and expressway expansion funding as a source of funds to keep transit running. The highway and expressway projects will increase emissions and not provide long-term congestion relief. The world is going to be a very different place coming out of this pandemic, and we will likely be in a recession, if not a depression, and public transit will play an essential role in getting people to their jobs. I would also like to encourage you to, sorry, my bad. I appreciate that you have made some very tough decisions about transit, and I really want to thank you for your leadership over the past few months. I would just like to implore you to make public transit a priority and avoid cuts to bus and light rail services as much as possible, because once we get out of this pandemic, people are going to need public transit more than ever before. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jamie. Roland, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. And this is going to be, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
It's going to be very brief because I'm just going to be commenting on phase one. I'll be commenting on phase 2 later. The reason why we're going absolute gangbusters on phase 1 right now is because Mr. Salpeers did the only smart thing, which was to let Bart and Shane Edwards take over. And I want everybody on this board to understand that Shane Edwards is Bart's top gun. He's not a VTA employee. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Eugene, I will be unmuting you and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Evening, board members. Can everybody still hear me?
Yes.
Just had trouble with my microphone. So anyway, this is Eugene, Silicon Valley Transit Users. I echo the concerns of some of the speakers regarding the need to have a complete public transit system. Let's make sure that throughout, at the end of this pandemic, whenever it does end, that we have a complete transit system for Santa Clara County that includes buses as well as light rail for everybody to use, from North County, South County, East Side, West Valley, everywhere in between. Voters, let's not forget, voters also approved to have increases in bus service, something we have not seen for over 20 years. This must change at VTA, otherwise this phase 2 project as it stands now will do more to destroy VTA altogether than any pandemic could ever do. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Up next is David. Following David will be Scott, Adina, Blair, and Stephanie. David, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello, I want to thank you for all of the actions that you've taken during this pandemic to try to maintain essential bus service. I also want to thank you for reconsidering the design of phase 2. I would hope that you would continue to consider phase 2 and look for ways to reduce costs even further, whether that is doing cut and cover at stations and using more cost-effective tunneling methods, or even canceling the station at Santa Clara so that we don't wind up creating redundant service to Caltrain. Given the fact that we are in a recession and funding is going to be greatly constrained going out of it, I think it's absolutely crucial that we make the most of all of the money that we have. And that involves finding additional ways to reduce costs so that we can use that toward other parts of the regional network. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Scott, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Scott Mace. I'm a resident of San Jose. I would like to echo the requests of Monica Mallon and others that you reconsider the BART extension from Diridon Station to Santa Clara as being duplicative of the service that already exists and will soon be greatly enhanced from Caltrain. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Adina, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Good evening, board members. Adina Levin with Friends of Caltrain. And first of all, glad to hear the update on the next phase. Looking forward to using it as soon as people who don't have essential trips are able to be back using public transportation. And with that, looking forward to seeing the BART extension come all the way to downtown. And in the interest of getting that done.
Adina, we lost you. Adina?
We will come back to Adina. Blair, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. After a few months now and at least 3 or 4 public meetings, I'd like to, I'm understanding what Monica has spoken about and that we don't have to possibly bring the BART extension to Santa Clara at this time. I felt that was interesting to learn today. Thank you. I also wanted to add, you know, I'm a bit of a twit through this process. I thank you for your patience with myself. I described ideas of a Green New Deal within the VTA that I'm very proud of yourselves about. I really want to learn how to call it something like green sustainability ideas. I think that the term sustainability has to be reestablished at this time, and I'm going to try to use that term from now on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Blair. Adina, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Great. So I think I was, where did I cut out? I was looking forward to using.
Just go ahead. You have 55 seconds. Go.
Okay. I was looking forward to using this section of the system when it opens and when people who don't have essential trips can be back using public transportation. And in the interest of bringing BART further into downtown San Jose and Diridon, I would like to echo the comments of some of the other speakers. Looking at the costs of the phase 2, as has been recently done, is a very good start. And as the recession deepens and money is going to be really tight, I would encourage you to look at additional options to reduce the costs further in order to be able to complete that project, including removing the redundant segment Diridon to Santa Clara, and looking to protect businesses from the impacts of cut and cover, where protecting them directly is probably going to be cheaper than doing an expensive tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina. Our next speaker. Go ahead, Madam Chair.
Our last speaker will be Adrian Brandt. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Stephanie, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, yes, thank you. I am Stephanie Morris, and I live in Campbell. And I wanted to echo the comments also of some of the others who've spoken tonight to take a look at that BART phase 2 and look for further opportunities to reduce costs for that project. I'd like to encourage VTA to consider the needs of essential workers and transit-dependent people who are using transit, especially as we come out of shelter in place, to make sure that we can run enough service to avoid crowding and to avoid cuts and layoffs as much as possible so that we can support our essential workers, many of whom don't have other forms of transportation. So I'd like to have VTA take a look at alternate funding, looking at highway and expressway expansion funding as a possible source of funds to keep transit running so that we can keep our essential workers supported. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Adrian, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute, and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to address phase 2 quickly. I too also think that eliminating the duplicative section between Diridon and Santa Clara makes a lot of sense. It's fully 1/3 of the mileage of phase 2 that is really not necessary. It's completely duplicative of what will now be a high quality upgraded Caltrain service. Additionally, I think that the question of cut and cover for the stations should be re-examined for the simple reason that instead of having 2 additional emergency use only platforms at the ventilation structures, if you had proper cut and cover stations, such as are done in every world-class city, almost every world-class city in the world manages to put up with that temporary inconvenience, and that way you have in perpetuity instead of a suboptimal solution with extraordinarily deep stations that are cramped, you have a better outcome, and I think San Jose and the BART system will be better off for it in the long run. So those are both cost engineering things that need to be looked at. Thanks.
Thank you. So with that, I have no other public speakers. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, what I'd like to just say is a very sincere thank you to the team. And this is not an item we're voting on, so we'll move on to the next item, but I just wanted to say a very special thank you to all of you for your amazing work. Thank you. We're now going to move on to item 7.2. And let me just say this, prior to going to 7.2, I've been notified by member Rob Rennie that he would like a reconsideration of 4.1. And 4.1 is the very last, this is the last property assessors, the last property that we did not have a passing vote on. Glenn, I'm going to turn this over to you, and Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then Glenn, you'll have to chair this piece. Thank you.
Okay,
Glenn,
Rob,
would you like me to start?
Yes, please. What is your reconsideration?
So I apologize for being difficult on this. When as you know, I voted yes on the first 4 properties because I thought it was important for the project going forward. I voted no on the last property because I like to see us work better with other agencies, and it you know, from their discussion, it sounded like we could work better with them. I then, you know, and I didn't count my noses very well. When I voted no, I wasn't expecting that to fail. It's kind of inconsistent to vote on part of it to pass and part of it to fail. You know, the whole project, you know, and while we were sitting here, I went back and reread the staff report for 4.1, and if they don't all pass, then there's, you know, danger of increased costs to the project and other larger problems. And it wasn't as obvious to me that it was really that needed to be expedited until I reread the staff report. Potentially, or possibly maybe staff could just reconfirm for me that my rereading is correct, that it really is, that we really do need to expedite that portion of the property acquisition, and that it would potentially increase costs, which I certainly don't want to do.
Would staff like to respond to Rob right there, that to confirm with him that yes, it's important and that there are challenges with moving forward if we don't do this?
Yes, I can weigh in, Mr. Vice Chair, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I was going to say, you know, following up on the point of the staff report, the project schedule requires by the last week of August that we start construction on the new power poles with PG&E. And those power poles have a seasonal deadline where the work has to start by then, and it has to be finished by October 15th. Otherwise, projects cannot happen next to a creek over the winter to protect the habitat. And so you're looking at a delay at least until April of next year and possibly June. And so we only have between now and that last week of August to kind of basically have completed all these discussions and give the rights to PG&E. And so, as I said before, and I appreciate the comments that were made, that we want to work with the district to try to resolve this, but quite honestly, having this resolution of necessity to underscore to everyone both the urgency of this and the timing, and that VTA needs to move forward in either scenario will be helpful, we think, in bringing that negotiation and discussion with the district and PG&E to a successful close and keeping the project on schedule and on budget.
So Rob, does that satisfy you? And would you like to reconsider for the vote, this vote?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to ask our maybe Evelyn, because I haven't had to do a reconsideration for a while.
I'll make a motion for reconsideration.
Mayor Liccardo, did I just hear you say you made a
I'll make a motion for reconsideration since I was on the prevailing side. I believe I can do that.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a move to reconsider by Mayor Liccardo and a second by Mr. Nunez. Are there any other comments from my colleagues?
I do have a comment.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'm not quite sure about the prevailing side because the motion did not pass.
Good point.
The motion needs to be made by the motion needs to be made by the, for example, Rob, because he voted against it, and then anybody can second it, correct?
That's correct.
So that's true even if we had more votes. Huh. Okay.
I will make the motion to reconsider for Sam if somebody else can.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to be clear, the prior motion by the mayor, it was not a valid motion by procedure. Member Rennie has made a motion for reconsideration. Is there a second?
Second. My second stands.
Okay, so we have a motion for reconsideration by Member Rennie with a second by Mr. Nunez. Is there any other comments by my colleagues? And Evelyn, just because I want to make sure, do I have to open this up for public comment?
I would recommend that we should reopen it. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to open the public comment on this, and I'm going to have to get the board secretary people to tell me if there are any people that are raising their hand for public comment. I'll wait a moment and see if that's happening.
Yes, we
Vice
do.
Chair. Go ahead, Thalia, sorry.
We have two people who will speak.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're going to go ahead and I'm closing the raising of hands for speaking. And can you go ahead and let the two people speak, please?
Yes, first will be ATU 265 President, followed by Blair. ATU President, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute.
I'll just keep it brief. It's just very confusing as to whether we're following Robert's Rules of Order or Rosenberg Rules of Order, but to reconsider a motion almost an hour after it's been voted on seems very much out of line. And I would just hope that the board members would stand on their own when they make these votes. It seems like every motion and vote is kind of lockstep, and we need to get some individual thinking going forward, or we're basically going to be kind of screwed. So, I'm just alarmed by the way that this board is moving forward. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, this is Blair Beekman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And to stick to the point. It was my understanding this issue, there may be EMF issues involved, and to be able to state that publicly may be important for this issue, and to be able to, for me to say that, I just wanted to say that at this time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think those were our two public speakers. I'm going to close the public speaker portion of this hearing. Are there any last comments by any of my colleagues? I don't see hands raising, so if anybody wants to speak, go ahead and just go ahead. I'm not hearing anybody. I believe since this is a reconsideration on this, we would need a majority, which would be 8 votes.
That is correct.
Okay, so with that, one of the board secretaries.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, the majority is 7. The Ron requires 8.
There you, okay, thank you for that clarification. Either way you cut it, we need eight affirmative votes.
One other point of order, we actually need to take 2 votes, don't we? Don't we first vote on the motion for reconsideration, then we vote on the substantive item?
That is correct.
What we're voting on right now, you're correct, is just the motion to reconsider, not the reconsideration. If everybody's clear on that, this is just the vote right now is to reconsider. And with that, would the clerk ask for a voice vote?
All right, this is Elaine, where the vote that's on the floor is to reconsider the, excuse me, the action for EBRC property ID 1346 owned by Valley Water District. Motion was made by board member Rennie, seconded by board member Nunez. I'll call the votes now. Carr.
Yes.
Carrasco.
Yes.
Dieppe.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Ricardo.
Aye.
McAllister.
No.
McAllister is no. Nunez.
Yes.
Peralez.
Aye.
Rennie.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Chavez. I believe board member Chairperson Chavez is recusing. The vote passed with 9 ayes, 1 no, 1 recusal, and 1 absent.
Okay, so with that vote, we're going back and now we can go ahead and do the reconsideration. And again, unless the attorneys tell me, I'd be looking for a motion right now.
So moved.
Second.
And I believe the motion that you just said, just to be clear, is to close the hearing and adopt a resolution of necessity determining the public interest and necessity requires the acquisition of the property interest from the one property, which is EBRC 1346 owned by Santa Clara Water. Is that the motion you made and seconded?
Member Hendricks, I just want to clarify that we've already closed the hearing on that, that the
Okay.
motion for reconsideration only is for the RON,
Okay.
if I understand that correctly. That is the motion that we are taking, is just the adoption of the RON and not the reopening and closing of the hearing.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Member Jones?
Yes, yes, it is.
Is that your, who was the second?
I was, amen.
Okay.
Sam.
Are there any other comments by my colleagues? And Evelyn, do I need to open the public hearing for this?
No, the public hearing had already occurred. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Seeing no more comments from my colleagues, can the clerk do a roll vote?
Okay, this is to adopt the resolution of necessity for property ID number EBRC 1346 owned by the Santa Clara Valley Water District. The motion was made by Board Member Jones, seconded by Board Member Liccardo. I'll call the votes now. Carr?
No.
Carr is no. Carrasco?
Yes.
Carrasco, yes. Dieppe?
Aye.
Dieppe, yes. Jones?
Aye.
Jones, yes. Liccardo?
Aye.
Liccardo, yes. McAllister?
No.
McAllister is no. Nunez?
Yes.
Nunez is yes. Perales?
Yes.
Perales, yes. Rennie?
Yes.
Rennie's yes. Hendricks?
Yes.
And Board Member Chavez is recusing. The motion passed with 8 yes votes, 2 no votes, 1 recusal, and 1 absent.
Okay,
Motion
I want to
passed.
thank my colleagues for that, and I'm going to pass the ball back to Chair Chavez.
Thank you. And in my enthusiasm to say yay on phase 1, I forgot to let them present on phase 2. I'm going to ask that the presentation on phase 2 for BART under item 7.1 be very specific as to the pieces of information that we most want to make sure we get to the board. Thank you. And I'll turn it back. Takis, is this to you or to Nurian? Oh, here we go. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you recall, you and the board members, you all recall back April 17th, we briefed you and we discussed with you in a special meeting that we had concluded into 2 configurations, 2 design options of how to bring BART to San Jose. And you all recall that we maintained the 12,500 feet for the downtown area to be on a single board stacked configuration. And you also recall that in order to meet and satisfy or mitigate, if you like it, the BART concerns, we offer to use the ventilation structures on each side of downtown as an emergency egress facility. And we suggested at that time that we're gonna go and cut the street east of 13th Street and west of Stockton Avenue and put those emergency platforms. Well, since April 17th, I heard from many of you. I heard from the public. We received the general manager's office, my office, and others. We received a lot of, I would say, concerns about the locations to cut and open Santa Clara Street between roughly 13th to 17th Street and so on. And we took that very seriously. And Elaine, if you can show page 2 for a second. And that's my 3rd bullet there, that I personally spent a few hours talking to the public and citizens representatives, and in addition to each of you. And we went back to work, and tonight I want to share with you a conclusion of this work, which I hope meets your expectations. Elaine, page 3, please. As you recall, Madam Chair, that we had 2 alternatives, 2 configurations. As I said, we had the single board stack for the downtown for both concepts. But the way we brought the railroad, if you like it, west of Berryessa, coming down from the Berryessa tail tracks to downtown, we had side by side on the single bore, and we had the twin bores. To figure now a way to eliminate the need to cut open the Santa Clara Street between 13 and 17, the second concept we presented to you April 17, the twin bores did not work there. The geometrics didn't allow to meet the single bore without open the streets. For that, we focused on the single bore and working. We were able to work the geometrics in such a way that to address the BART operational concerns, to mitigate, again, I have to be careful the word I use, address or mitigate, or take it into consideration, because the engineering design is not done yet and signed and sealed and approved from BART. But then when we will look a little bit deeper and spend around the clock, we realized that there is a way to really do these emergency platforms without open the streets. And brought us back to look inside the tunnel. And I'm pleased to tell you today that we found a way. We found a minimum 16 feet emergency platform, which we can fit inside the tunnel, the single bore, and we have enough space. Just roughly speaking, I know a lot of you say, what he's talking, where these numbers come from. When you have a 43 feet tunnel, interior diameter, and you put 16 feet platform for emergency, you have enough room on both sides to put the tracks. And the way going from a single board to a single board through this platform, the geometrics work very well for us. As you may recall, I used the term flat spot. We wanted to have a flat spot before the railroad comes to be unstacked going east, or coming from the east to go west, to be able to go up the ramp and stack in order to clear the downtown. For that, we were able to work that. And on page 4, I'll show you a quick aerial picture, which shows the two platforms, 16 feet. You can see on the property where a VTA owns, we are showing there a small cut and cover, ventilation and emergency egress. That's how we're gonna connect the tunnel to the location of the emergency exiting, emergency egress. For that, that is, I would say, as I see it now, I saw it the last 2-3 weeks, about 70 feet wide by 100 feet long. That is subject to further optimization. And I'm optimistic, myself and our engineers here, we are optimistic we will be able to really even make it smaller, intended to be just a utility access for to the tunnel. Similar to the considerations for the 13th Street, we applied to Stockton. In Stockton, we have a little bit more flexibility. As you remember, we have 2-3 parcels there, which we have clear environmentally, and it's not gonna be that difficult to do exactly the same thing. But I wanted to take this opportunity to brief you, because I'm pretty sure you have received more complaints and more requests than I have, and the general manager has, that we had to really know open the streets in these locations. And Elaine, page 5, please. For that, where are we going from here? We informing you, and hopefully you agree with us, we're going to advance only one concept now. That concept 1, which is the single bore stack from south of Berryessa all the way to Stockton. And we're gonna check if we have any environmental issues. So far, for the last 4 or 5 days, we're looking at that. Nothing, no red flags. Right away, I'm not aware today of any of any right-of-way issues, and utility consideration. Always a guy like me scares of utility, very afraid of utilities. And I'm afraid because most of us, even the owners of the utilities, we don't know where the utilities are. That's a different conversation. For that, we're gonna work on that. On the second bullet is where my boss is pushing very hard. She wants the estimates, she wants the schedule, she wants the risk register, and she wants everything yesterday. And I understand her completely because we have to submit it to the feds. Sooner we are in the front door of USDOT, sooner we have a conclusion, and maybe by the end of this year, we advertise our first construction contract for phase 2. That's my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the public first, and then I'll see if any of my colleagues have questions. If I could ask the clerk to call on the public.
Yes, we have 2 public speakers, Roland and Aleta. Roland, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. So the first thing is, before we go around wasting any more time with single bore, I think Mr. Salpeas needs to provide us with an engineering solution that's going to make it possible to have a station entrance on the south side of Santa Clara when the stack platforms are facing north. Now, my second point is, in your packet is a letter I wrote to you last night that basically explains how to move the 2 flat spots from 13th Street to 28 and from Stockton to Diridan. Because Diridan needs a cut and cover box. There's absolutely no way to make an integrated station work without a cut and cover box at Diridan. And my last point is that the sooner Mr. Salpeas understands that BART is nothing more than the tail wagging the Diridan dog, the world will be a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Ms. Dupree, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Aleta Dupree for the record. As I'm learning about this project, as I've said before, I'm not really necessarily favoring one tunneling method over another. I just don't want us to disrupt things too much because I've lived through that in New York City like 30 something years ago. I do see reasonable to build a station in Santa Clara because when I look at the map, I see that we're going to be building that Newhall yard anyway. So I see it fit to build a station there anyway, because I don't think it's necessarily redundant because BART will be running every 15 minutes and Caltrain, I'm guessing, will probably only be running once an hour. So I think it's good to have the 1-seat ride. It's kind of like if you don't have the 1-seat ride, it's like me getting off at 125th Street and taking a subway to Grand Central. So I think we need to keep it all together. Thank you.
Thank you, Aleta. Blair, please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to be strong here and give my formal opinion about this subject for the first time publicly. Thank you for your patience. It's my feeling that the double bore system can just be add a bit more safety
I'm so hungry.
people in the event of an earthquake. And, you know, I don't want to, much criticize the single bore idea. You know, it sounded like you're saving an exorbitant amount of money. And I just hope there can be ways that, you know, we can still look for the double bore system and save money that way. And if we do build a single bore system, as much as I can understand it, I don't think it should be fully celebrated. And I hope we can have a mellow time about it and look for ways for the double bore system, which I don't think would be quite as dangerous in an earthquake situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On phase 2, I apologize to my colleagues for not catching this sooner. Are there any comments from my colleagues or questions? I'm going to go to John McAllister, and I'm going to ask if any of you have questions, if you could put your hands up now. If not, John will be our only commenter, unless he provokes some other comments. John.
Thank you. I just have just one question. It's probably been mentioned many times, but is there only going to be one entrance down to the train station, either from the south or the north, or are there going to be entrances on both sides of the on Santa Clara?
Right now, the plan is only one side. I don't know if we will be able to do a second entrance.
Okay, thank you.
Know as I sit here today, but I do know what we have now.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions on this? Seeing none, thank you very much and thank you for that, going back after, getting an earful. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate Nuria saying everything tomorrow. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 7.2. This is an action item. This is a contract with the San Jose Police Department, which is to authorize the general manager to execute a contract with the San Jose Police Department for supplemental law enforcement support services at Silicon Valley BART Extension's Berryessa campus for a base contract period of 2 years from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2022, and a base contract amount of $4,345,697 with 4 additional options periods to extend the contract through June 30, 2026 for a total contract amount not to exceed $13,159,156. Before we
Chair. Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
I was just going to call on you,
Oh,
Ralph.
you were just going to call on me. Got it. Sorry.
Right. You know what? That's okay. I've got scripts and so many helpers. It's awesome. Before we proceed, Board Member Prowse would like to make a statement.
Thank you very much. I have to recuse myself, so I've got to make a statement here. I'm announcing that for the record, I serve on the City of San Jose City Council as well as serve on the VTA board. I also volunteer as a reserve police officer for the San Jose Police Department. I receive a salary from the city, a per diem from the VTA, and a reimbursement of credits from the San Jose Police Department for my uniform as a volunteer reserve officer. I am directing the VTA to note this in its official record. And under Government Code Section 1091.5B, Section 13, I have a remote interest and therefore will be recusing myself from participating on this item. And I will have to log out and I will log back in when the item is over.
Great, thank you. Board members from the City of San Jose, Carrasco, Dieppe, Liccardo, and Jones. Do any of you want to make a statement on behalf of all of you?
Board Chair, this is Magdalena Carrasco, and I'm going to read something into the record, if I may, please. I'm also announcing for the record that I serve on the City of San Jose City Council as well as the VTA board, and that I too receive a salary from the city and a per diem from VTA. I am directing the VTA to note this in its official record under Government Code Section 1091.5A9. I have a non-interest and I'm not required to recuse myself from this item.
And may I apply that to members Dieppe, Liccardo, and Jones at this time?
Please do.
Please do.
Now, what I'd like to do is that if any of you would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand to do so. I would like to ask for a motion to accept this staff's recommendations. And if I could get a motion and a second, then I will move to public comment and then back to the board for any comments or questions.
So moved.
Second. So we have a motion from Lon. Did you make that motion?
I did.
Okay, so we have a motion from member Dieppe and a second from, was it Carrasco, Magdalena?
Yes.
Okay, and a second from Magdalena. I will now go to the public comment. And we have 2 speakers. I'll ask the clerk to call on those speakers.
That is correct. We have 2 speakers. The first speaker will be ATU 265 President, followed by Blair. ATU President, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to say that, you know, for the record, the amount of recusals is evidence of the amount of persuasion that this motion and this action item has received to push the San Jose Police Department to have jurisdiction over these Berryessa. And I want to say that the Sheriff's Department has done an unbelievable job, and there is no reason why we don't award this to the Sheriff's Department, Santa Clara County Sheriffs. And I wanted to thank the sheriffs for the work that they've done. And I believe that they are way better suited to continue to do the work that they have done. And like I said before, I just, the amount of recusals is an obvious move. You know, it's just obvious what's happening here. So please reconsider this motion and award this contract to the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Blair?
Blair, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for answering. It's my little check to be sure. Thank you very much. In this item with the San Jose Police Department, I thank you again for what I feel has been very good efforts by the VTA to create good public policy for the current state of technology by using some of the most updated accountability ideas, guidelines, legal precedents, and practices. I would like to again remind of the consensus building and enjoyment for all sides there can still be from concepts of peace and better democratic practices for commercial data collection. These are the honest attempts to ask for peace and positive long-term community sustainability. To conclude, our modern San Jose still often relies on opaqueness and vagueness with technology in the community. The VTA needs to continue to learn familiar good ideas and how to keep an important distance from the city of San Jose with technology and other issues. And finally, I will still be continually asking for good-minded 40 to 60 day open review policy for controversial apps placed into the VTA Big Belly Smart Trash Compactors. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. I have no comments from my colleagues, and I see none. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Okay, this is for the approval of item 7.2, motion made by Board Member Diab, seconded by Board Member Carrasco. I'll call the vote now. Carr?
Yes.
Carrasco?
Yes.
Cortese is absent. Diab?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Liccardo?
Aye.
Thank you. McAllister?
I vote with the mayor.
Yes, I believe that's a yes. Nunez?
Yes.
Mr. Perales has left the room and reflected earlier that he's recusing on this item. Rennie?
I vote with McAllister, yes.
Thank you. Hendricks?
I'm going to make an independent vote, yes.
Chavez?
Yes.
Motion passed with 10 yeses, 1 recusal, and 1 absent.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on. And also, can I say to Anne-Lee, I'm sorry I didn't like the presentation. She worked so hard on this. You guys should all give her a mental round of applause. So thank you for that. We're going to move on to 7.3. This is I'm going to ask folks to go on. Someone's slurping. Everybody could go on mute. I don't know who that was. 7.3, this is an item to approve VTA's policy on temporary upgrade pay for non-represented employees for work out of classification assignments and acting pay requests. And I'm going to ask for this to be a very brief report. And then I'm going to go to the public comment, and then I will go to my colleagues for questions.
Madam Chair, Sylvester Fadal will be presenting on this item.
Madam Chair, this is Elaine. I just wanted to note for the record that Board Member Perales is back.
Thank you.
Oh, hello, this is Sylvester Fadal, VTA Director of Human Resources, Procurement and Contract. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Madam Chair, members of the board, this is a request for the board to approve VTA's policy on temporary upgrade pay for non-represented employees who are on work out of class assignments. In section 5-2J of VTA's administrative code, the board of directors has delegated authority to the GM to establish the positions and assign the compensation of employees under his or her authority. In a recent audit that was conducted by CAPERS, they are requiring that this workout class policy be adopted by the VTA board, consistent with how it handles collectively bargained agreements with its unions. Upon approval by the board, VTA would notify CAPERS accordingly. And that is the end of my very brief report.
Wow, Sylvester. Are there any public speakers on this item? I have none. Any of my colleagues want to ask a question about this item? I have no raised hands. May I ask for a motion? Our vice chair?
Yeah, I move that we approve VTA's policy on temporary upgrade pay for non-represented employees for work out of classification assignments and acting pay requests.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't see or hear. Was that
No.
Chappie? Thank you,
Yes.
Larry. All right, we're gonna give this one to Chappie. He was speedy. And I've no public comments. I'm going to ask for a roll.
This is for agenda item number 743. Motion made by Vice Chair Hendrick, seconded by Board Member Jones. Carr,
Yes.
Carrasco. Board Member Carrasco. I'll come back to you. Board Member Cortese is absent. Dieppe.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Ricardo.
Aye.
McAllister. Board Member McAllister.
I'm going to follow my own lead and say yes.
Thank you. Nunez.
Yes.
Peralez.
Aye.
Rennie.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Chavez.
Yes.
Again, I go back to Board Member Carrasco. Okay, I'll reflect her as absent.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Thank
Yes.
you.
Sorry.
The vote passed with 11 ayes and 1 absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move now to item 7.4. This is an information item on the financial impacts of COVID-19. This is the last item on our regular agenda, and then we have the general manager's report and a couple of other items. And so, and this is obviously a very important topic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that staff give their presentation while they do that. If you were an attendee and you'd like to speak, this would be a time to raise your hand for this. There will be approximately 6 slides, and we'll take public comment, then go to the board. And we've received written comment on a number of items on this one from both Roland Lebrun and Kevin Ma, and those are on line packet pages 428 and 429. So if we can go to staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. Actually, the presentation is about 11 or 12 slides. First section of the presentation is 6, and the second section of the presentation is another 6 slides. The first section of the presentation, which I will be making, or I'm making right now, it is the macroeconomic trends we are seeing at the present time and which you have seen over the last few weeks. I should add, those trends are evolving pretty much every day. And also, I will also talk about the economic impacts of the previous recessions, how that compares to where we are right now. And the second part of the presentation is the financial impact of COVID-19 on VTA specifically, which Franklin Wong, Deputy Director of Budgets and Finance, will be presenting. I can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is a comparison of the past several recessions since we have kept track and how long they've fared and what is the economic impact. Just want to point out to 2 specific recessions on this. One is the 1918 that is caused by a pandemic, so that's Spanish flu. And the second one is the 1915 recession that was also caused by a pandemic, that was the H2N2 virus. As you can see, both these recessions were very short. The economic impact was very short. 18, perhaps the worst pandemic known recorded history, was about 7 months, and the 57 one was about 8 months. However, the modern science has changed dramatically since then. The number of fatalities of the infections may not be as great in the current pandemic we are having. However, we do believe it's a kind of a consensus. I've talked to many economists. The economic impacts are going to be far greater than the past two recessions. Next slide, please. As you can see from this chart, this is the initial claims for unemployment insurance filed in the first month of each recession since 1969. I believe that's when they started keeping the records on this. And March 20, that's about 2 months ago, was the worst month in recorded history for unemployment claims. It ended with the last week of March, we had about 6.9 million unemployment claims filed. So that is the worst. And I'm quoting a statement by the UCLA Anderson School of Management. Based on the last forecast, they believe the unemployment rate in California is expected to be higher than that of the US because of heavy dependence in California for employment on hospitality industries and leisure types of activities. So it could peak at more than 17% by the end of the year or Q1 of 2021. However, I had a call with them this morning. They informed me that they're revising their forecast, which they'll be publishing tomorrow. And although they wouldn't give me the specific number, they hinted that it would be worse than what they projected last week. We can go to the next slide. This is a forecast by a different economist, Jeffrey Cleveland of Payton & Regal, and slightly, I guess, a pessimistic outlook. They believe by the end of this summer, the unemployment rate could reach almost 20%, as opposed to previous UCLA's rate of 17%, which they'll be revising tomorrow. Perhaps they'll come closer to this one as well. Next one. Now, this is, what is the economic impact? Just go the straight upsloping baseline, which is in black at the top. That was the baseline forecast they had estimated before pre-COVID-19. And the rest of the, we are somewhat U-shaped curves below that are the forecast of either the best case or the worst case scenario. Let me go to the worst case scenario, which is the bottommost of the brown line. That shows a very severe drop in US GDP, which before was at about 19 trillion, that before this one. If you look at the worst case forecast, it's going to dip below 17 trillion. That is about a 10% reduction in the GDP. That's huge for a country of this size. Even under the best case scenario, which is at the green line at the top, the GDP is still going to shrink. The light blue and the dark blue lines in the middle are the most likely scenarios. What is interesting, even with the best or the worst case scenario, in either of these scenarios, the economy is not expected to bounce back to where it was pre-COVID-19 anytime this calendar year. In fact, all of the economists I've talked to believe it'll be the end of 2021 or 2022 before the economy bounces back to where it was before COVID-19. If you go to the next slide. Let me stop here, and if you have if any of the board members have any questions on the first 6 slides I presented, I'll be happy to answer that, because with this slide, I'm going to turn it over to Franklin Wong if there are no questions.
I apologize. I'm trying to find my question screen. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions they'd like to make under this part? Is it all right if we wait till the end, and that way people have a more fulsome picture? Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me turn this over to Franklin Wong now. Franklin.
Yes. Good evening, board members. So in front of you is preliminary sales tax and fair revenue trend projections chart. So what we try to do here is to compare the pre-pandemic situation to what we will go through in the next 16 months. So for the top line, top blue line at the top, basically it shows the pre-pandemic level. We call it the 100%, And as the chart shows, for February, that's before the pandemic really hits California. And the March 2020 is the transition month. So the red bar shows the sales tax revenue. And as many of you may recall, the first quarter of this calendar year, January through March, the sales tax figures won't be known until later this month. We will need to wait for the information from the state Department of Tax and the CDTFA department in order to figure out the actual dollar amount. But we are estimating that for the month of March is going to be for the second half of the month is going to be about a 50% drop of sales tax revenue, which will continue through the last quarter of this fiscal year. That means April through June. And from that point onward, based on what our discussion with different institutions, we believe that there's going to be a gradual and measured climb by the end of the next fiscal year in June 2021. We may be able to reach back to about 80% of where we were before the pandemic. That's for the sales tax, the red bars. Now, the green bars indicate our preliminary projection for fares, transit fares and paratransit fares. So back in March, we managed to collect about 70% of our budgeted fare revenues. And since March 19th, we have stopped collecting fares. And this projection assumed that we may resume fare collection at the beginning of the next fiscal year. And we are very conservative in terms of putting forward this estimate based on the current ridership that I'm going to touch base in a minute. But looking forward for fiscal year 21, we're going to see a very measured climb to about 45% of where we were before the pandemic in terms of fare revenues. Next slide, please. So using last week ridership numbers compared to mid-February, as you see here, system-wide, we have a drop of ridership for close to 78%. And there's some major milestones that I want to also regroup with all of you, that we stopped collecting fares on March 19th, as I mentioned a minute ago. And light rail services was suspended for about 2 weeks, but it has been resumed on weekdays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on April 9th. Next slide, please. Many of you are familiar with this chart because that's what we have presented to the board last month. I just want to bring it back to you to ensure that we're on the same page. Our very preliminary impact projections on lost revenues and additional costs could be total to about $18 million per month. Next slide, please. So, there are some changes since the last board presentation that we did back in early April. So once again, we now have light rail weekday services 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on April 15th, we received news from MTC about a potential reduction of the TDA allocations by 15% in fiscal year 2021. And we actually got more recent news. Late yesterday, we received additional clarification from MTC that they are going to reduce TDA allocations by 25%, not 15%. So the numbers that I'm going to go over in the subsequent slides, will be revised later on, and we'll bring it back to the A&F committee in 2 weeks, and definitely to the board in the next board meeting in early June. The STA allocations will be determined based on the governor's revised budget estimate in May, but our projections right now, we try to link it to the TDA assumption at this point. And so far, I've been talking about bad news. There's one piece of good news that I would like to remind everyone that, back on April 22nd, the first tranche of CARES Act funding was approved by MTC, and VTA's share is about $73 million. Next slide, please. So based on where we were at the end of the third quarter, we had operating balance of a positive variance of 14.3 million. And given all of the discussions that we have so far, we project that for the total loss of revenues and additional expenses that could incur between April and June, we could face a negative variance of about 48.6 million. So that with some arithmetic, we projected that the operating balance at the end of this fiscal year could be about 34.3 million. Next slide, please. So this last table, we tried to present to the board about where things could end up to be at the end of this fiscal year. So the 34.3 million at the top is the estimated deficit for this fiscal year. And we believe that the CARES Act funding may be able to bridge the gap so that we don't need to touch our operating reserve balance and sales tax stabilization balance, that we will successfully secure the required 15% for operating reserve balance and the maximum balance allowed under the sales tax stabilization fund, which is 35. Now, going forward though, for fiscal year 21, based on the macroeconomic trends and also our preliminary projections on sales tax and fair revenues, our estimated deficit could be as much as $155 million. That's based on the assumption that expenditures will be consistent with the adopted budget that the board adopted back in June of 2019. The number beneath it, the 88.5 million, is the difference between what we intend to use to bridge the budget gap in this fiscal year and the potential allocation that VTA could receive based on the current share that VTA has for the CARES Act funding that was adopted by MTC last month. With that, to partially bridge the gap, we could utilize the lion's share of the operating reserve balance to balance the budget for next fiscal year. So that concludes my presentation, and Raj and I are happy to answer any questions that any board members may have.
I'm going to go to our public comment first. And we have 14 speakers. I'm gonna just say that when we get through about a third of them, I'm gonna close the opportunity for more folks to get on the line. And mostly I wanna make sure that we both hear from the public, but that we get a chance to ask all of you your questions. So if I can ask the clerk to begin.
Yes, the first three speakers will be Scott, Dave, and Mallory. Scott, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I in particular would urge the board to consider looking at curtailing expansion of highways and expressways in order to preserve our transit investment. During this pandemic, we've all been appreciating the clean air we've had. We're dreading fire season, which has been worsening with climate change, harder to manage with an ongoing epidemic. To address the climate crisis, we need to preserve, restore, and improve our transit system, and to stop expanding highways and expressways that increase climate and particulate pollution. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Dave, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Good evening. With our newly discovered ability to alleviate traffic by eliminating commutes with telecommuting and unfortunate profound economic disruption, you surely have justification to reallocate Measure B funds should that be something you desire. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Mallory will be our next speaker, followed by Eugene, Roland, and Perry. Mallory, please accept the unmute. And you may begin
Hi, this
speaking when
is
you're.
Dave. I got a unmute request. Maybe you need to try again.
Mallory,
Yes.
you may go ahead and speak.
All right. Good evening. My name is Mallory Mitton, and I'm a 16-year-old high school student at Homestead High School. When school is in session, I have to commute every day from where I live to Sunnyvale to my school, which is located in Cupertino. I used to be able to take the 54 bus route, but that's since been closed. Every day, I would see the same elementary, college, and high school students taking the bus to and from school, but now, like me, they have to drive to school. We have to think about the future and how to bring down our gas emissions so that my generation will have a healthy place to live. Now is a better time than ever to keep our pollution levels at the all-time low they are at right now. These record lows are not because of the improvements of the highways, but rather the fact that there are fewer cars on the road. Let's keep it like this by making the necessary budgetary adjustments so that no more students like me have to take cars to school. I know this is not an easy decision, but I urge you to think about my generation and the future generations who will have to live with the consequences of your actions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mallory. Eugene, please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hey everybody, this is Eugene again. I echo Scott's comments just now. It's time that VTA really come clean to the voters who also expected some of these highway projects in addition to public transit expansion, that highway projects just never have relieved gridlock. And the fact that VTA staff has never responded to any requests to name one example in which any highway project ever built in the county has ever relieved traffic indicates that this is the case. Highways don't work, big fail. It is past time for VTA to really increase its public transit investment. And one of the things they can start doing to help out with the operating costs is to cut out some of these, in addition to not having any highway expansion projects, cut out some of these really unnecessary extensions like BART Phase 2 between San Jose and Santa Clara. One VTA board member mentioned how Caltrain would only run about once an hour after things were built. That's not going to be the case in about a few years. We'll run every 15 minutes. So time to get with the program, get with transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Roland will be our next speaker. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready.
Thank you. So, as Chair Chavez mentioned, there's a letter from me in your packets on this item. But first of all, I want to talk about reducing expenses. In London, their revenues dropped 90%. Boom. The immediate reaction is that they furloughed 25% across the board of the entire London transport. We cannot do this here because one of the conditions of the $73 million CARES Act is no furloughs. Private sector, they're reducing executive salaries 30%, middle managers 20%, everybody else 10%. Let me explain to you this slide, with revenue and fare box was totally deceiving. The fare box should.
What just happened?
It looks this is Vice Chair Hendricks. Looks like Roland drop off. We can try and see if we can get him back. I'm speaking because Chair Chavez had to leave. Can we have the clerk stop accepting any more speakers on this item and then continue on, and we can see if we can get Roland back later?
Yes, the last speaker will be Helen. Perry is our next speaker, followed by Patrick, Jessica, and Monica. Perry, I am going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready. He's the same thing.
Huh, it dropped, the person was dropped. Can you go to the next caller and then as they join back, we can add them back?
Yes. Patrick, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute. And you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I would like to, so I'm currently a college student at Foothill College, but I commute from East San Jose and I take transit every single day to school. I'd just like to contextualize this in this pandemic and economic disaster as as yielding the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, as well as a very horrible job market for my generation. And so coming out of college, we're not going to be able to afford much of transportation costs like cars, let alone electric cars. And so within that context, I encourage the board to reallocate money away from polluting highway expansion projects towards our transit so that we remove the transportation costs away from working families, especially essential workers and the younger generation who has to deal with the additional constraints of a much more harsher work job environment, so that we ensure a green recovery after this pandemic. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Patrick. Jessica, you will be our next speaker. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi there. My name is Jessica Matthew, and I'm representing Silicon Valley Democratic Socialists of America. In light of the current financial crisis, I want to first thank you for continuing to provide some service. Going forward, I encourage you all to prioritize sustainable transportation and to try to avoid cuts to bus and light rail service as much as possible. The decisions that you'll be making the next few months will impact us all for many years. It's important for you to consider the younger generations as you're deciding what to prioritize. Please consider highway and expressway expansion funding as a source of funds to keep transit running. The highway and expressway projects will increase emissions and will not provide long-term congestion relief. Please also consider the needs of essential workers and transit-dependent people during this time. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jessica. Monica will be our next speaker. Please accept the unmute and you will begin speaking when you are ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to comment. I just want to encourage you all to consider a few things in light of this financial crisis, to solve the financial crisis and bring riders back to VTA. The first is to provide employees with PPE and continue enhanced cleaning until a vaccine is found. Safe and clean service is really something that I think is necessary to bring riders back. The second is to run enough service to avoid overcrowding and consider the needs of transit-dependent people when service changes are made. The third is to look at highway and expressway expansion funding as a source of funds to keep transit running. As many other speakers have mentioned, highway expansions do not provide long-term congestion relief. And lastly, I think it's important to keep an open mind about the Caltrain ballot measure and keep the option open. If this measure passes, it would take Caltrain's operations and save good repair off of VTA's budget. And the last thing I want to say is that the decisions that you will make in the coming months will determine the future of transit in Santa Clara County. Please think about our generation as you are making these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. The next speaker will be Daniel, followed by Adina, Blair, and Tammy. Daniel, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I came to this board once again from my home in Santa Clara during these troubling times to speak on the item. While we are approaching the end of this plague with our winter of discontent seemingly being made into glorious summer, we must remember those who made this possible and continue to support them to ensure total victory, us having no more new cases over the plague. We must also prepare for tough financial times that are a result of this plague. For the time, VTA needs to continue to provide employees with PPE and continue enhanced cleaning until total victory is reached. As I said before, we must keep operations open to aid our essential workers and prevent crowding. The number of transit-dependent people will continue to rise as people are selling their vehicles to pay rent. So we need to keep transit open for them so they can keep their jobs or find and keep new ones. While we wait for revenue from ridership fees to return, VTA needs to make the tough decisions that real leaders do and look at highway and expressway expansion funding as sources of funding to keep transit running.
Thank you, Daniel. Our next speaker will be Adina. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you are ready.
Good evening, board members. Adina Levin, Friends of Caltrain, and working. So the pandemic is really negatively impacting VTA and all of Bay Area public transportation as a major catastrophe. Today, the transit advocacy community has worked based on some information from MTC, getting the information out to probably over 10,000 transit supporters in the Bay Area today, urging people to place phone calls and send letters to our members of Congress who are going to be contemplating a CARES Act Phase 2. So we are encouraged by the fact that our region is working together and hope that our members of Congress will listen to us and get additional funding to help bridge the financial impact of this pandemic. And lastly, I'd like to agree with previous speakers about moving the Caltrain ballot measure along to help take Caltrain off of VTA's books. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina. The next speaker will be Blair. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you are ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to offer, I was very impressed with Roland's words and Eugene's words about trying to reestablish VTA committee meetings for June and July. I said August, but since this meeting has gone on, I've learned to think it through, and I think June can be an acceptable time, and July at the latest, because it's my feeling that we're going to be dealing with a high level of death still with this disease through June, and it's worrisome that is the case. I don't know if you can start your committee processes in June or if it can be July, but it's my hope that we're going to still have a tough month of May, and I guess that's all. That's my feelings, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Blair. Next speaker will be Tammy. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you are ready.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tammy Denoda from SEIU Local 521. I'm the VTA chapter chair. I just wanted to thank Raj for the information that he presented. And also we think that VTA should.
Tammy, we lost you.
Tammy, we will come back to you.
Downturn in the economy. Thank you.
Tammy, sorry, we missed what you said.
Oh, okay. Hello, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is Tammy Denoda from SEIU Local 521. I'm the chapter chair. And we just want to thank Raj for the information that he presented tonight. And we think that VTA should continue to work with the unions as they have been since the COVID-19 crisis began. We want them to continue to work with us to find ways to cut expenses, implement hiring freezes, cut back on consultants, and also some of the projects that we think that we can hold off on to reallocate some of the Measure B funds. And we also want to preserve the bus and light rail service for all the transit dependent community members that we have, which we expect that number is going to rise as people come back to normal and don't have jobs. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tammy. Let's see. Our last speaker will be Roland, who will be finishing up his moment of speaking. Next speaker will be Hoyan, followed by Helen, followed by Linda, followed by ATU President. Hoyan, please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm with the Mothers Out Front. I thank the board and staff for your very hard work during this crisis. The Australian wildfires have burned around 46 million acres. That is over 80 times larger than the total area burned last year in California. Can we afford such fires here? We must reduce emissions by prioritizing sustainable transit. For brevity's sake, I second all the recommendations of Monica Mallon and Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. Finally, I urge those of you who work at the county to continue working towards establishing a public bank. A public bank will fund many of the programs and services we hold dear, including feeding the hungry, addressing the homeless crisis, building affordable housing, increasing and improving public transit so that it is usable. The climate crisis will not wait. We need a public bank to help us fund climate solutions and more. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Hoyon. Helen will be our next speaker. I am unmuting you now. Please accept the unmute and begin speaking when you are ready.
Hi, my name is Helen, and I'm a high school student from Archbishop Mitty High School in San Jose. I'm also with Silicon Valley Youth Climate Strike, and I'm guessing you've heard quite a bit from us today, but I hope you all, truly understand why youth activists advocate so strongly for things such as Measure B reallocation, because every step of climate action is really important because we have a livable future at stake, and it's our generation that's going to be affected. It's really hard to see public transit and sustainable transit keeping failed in favor of highways and other sources of funding when we should be prioritizing the future and seeing a path ahead out of this financial crisis that doesn't involve more gas guzzling cars and congestion and efforts that haven't worked historically. Better bus service is necessary to keep our cities accessible and thriving, and you've heard a lot from other people talking about why they need it in their communities. So I just want to encourage you to also, Monica's recommendations for keeping the cleaning going on. The PPE is really, really important too for frontline workers. And I also strongly encourage the board to keep looking into the Measure B reallocation to make sure that that's something highway funding is used for public transit instead. I hope you choose that for the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Helen. Linda, I'm going to unmute you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you are ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, hi. This is Linda with Mothers Out Front South Bay. We moms have our youths back, and we applaud the leadership on this issue. We also appreciate all your hard work during this crisis to keep public transit running and safe for both riders and workers. As you strive to adapt to this unprecedented moment, please keep 3 questions in mind. How will this decision affect our most vulnerable residents? How will it affect younger generations? And how will it affect our precarious climate? Naomi Klein has a great book, This Changes Everything. She was referring to the climate crisis, but it applies equally to this pandemic. When everything changes, we need to change everything. Please consider redirecting Measure B highway and expressway expansion funding to public transit. These projects will increase emissions and will not provide long-term congestion relief. If you build it, cars will come. Please make a full-on investment in public transit and electrifying buses and reducing vehicle miles traveled in cars. Please rise to this moment, prioritizing sustainable, affordable, reliable transportation, especially public transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Our next speaker will be ATU President. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I bet you none of you have even spoken to a bus operator today, or a bus mechanic, or a light rail operator, or a light rail mechanic. But I was out there since about 6:30 a.m. and we're all very concerned. And I sent a letter to all the ATU, to the VTA board members, and I hope that you take the time to read it. ATU has fought very hard to get the funding from the CARES Act, from 16 up to $25 billion. And VTA needs to get our fair share. And I just wanted to say that, that funding was not meant to make up for operational deficiencies or anything like that. It was very specific in what it's to be used for. A full array of PPE, a mask for every rider, hazard pay for transit workers, rear door boarding, and state-of-the-art sanitizing. So please read what the CARES Act was intended to be used for, and it's not to make up for operational deficiencies. So thank you.
Thank you. Roland, please accept the unmute, and you have 15 seconds remaining.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me quickly wrap up with this slide. That was grossly misleading because it shows you percentages. 100% of fare box is irrelevant. It's a fraction of a rounding error. Let me explain to you what 50% of sales taxes is. It's half of $770 million. It's $385 million a year. It is $30 million a month. So how are you going to get there? I suggest you go back to Act 6.10, read the letter that I wrote for you over there. I'm issuing multiple PRAs right now to figure out what's going on with BART Phase 2. The burn rate of BART Phase 2 is in excess of $10 million a month on consultants. Thank you.
Our final speaker will be Perry, who was booted earlier. Perry, please unmute yourself and you may speak. You've got 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Perry. I'm 16 years old and I'm a co-lead of the Sunnyvale Youth Climate Action Team. I want to start out by acknowledging the worry that I expect we all feel during this time. Thinking about the issues that we face, I frequently feel overwhelmed. I feel the challenges weighing down on my shoulders. Primarily in relation to coronavirus, I'm worried about my neighbor. His parents both have coronavirus and his dad is in the hospital as we speak. I'm worried about the homeless, elderly, disabled people, minimum wage workers, people who rely on public transportation to get around. Likewise, I'm almost constantly worried about climate change, which will be irreversible in 10 years, according to the UN report. Fortunately, with the Measure B reallocation, and by seriously considering Monica's recommendations, you can take some of these weights off both of our shoulders. Please remember that drastic times call for drastic measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. That concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. I'm going to now go to my colleagues. I'm going to start with Glenn and then go to John.
I didn't have any comments.
Okay, I just had your hand up. John, did you have a comment?
No, I have a question. Raj, some municipalities or government agencies are able to transfer capital improvement reserves into operating. Are you able to do that?
We do not have a capital reserve. We do have an operating reserve and a sales tax stabilization fund. We do not have a capital reserve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I just wanted to say how much I appreciated the information. I think it's exactly the information we needed and that we're going to have to dig in to this. And I'll look forward to, I know admin and finance will be taking a look at this, but I'm hopeful this will be going through all of our committees. It's such a critical body of work that we're going to need to take a look at. I also just wanted to thank the speakers. That was a long time to wait to get to weigh in on that topic. So that's deeply appreciated. To both Raj, to you and Franklin. So if we could, we don't have any other items on our regular agenda. I'm going to move to item 8.1, and this is the report of our general manager.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good evening to all. I'm going to begin my report with an update on our response to the current pandemic. Since the last board meeting, the county's public health officer extended the shelter in place through May 31st and added a mandate for all public transit passengers and operators in Santa Clara County to wear face coverings on board buses and trains beginning Monday, May 4th, this past Monday. So we had just a few days to come up with a message for our public, and our marketing and communications team kicked into high gear. And they came up with something that was fun for the first day. And I'm sure you recognize this dude, the Darth Vader. But that was just an imagery that we wanted to put out there. We wanted to make sure that those who are using our service came with their face coverings, and because our operators are all also using face coverings. I think it's an important message. We appreciate the step that has been taken, so it's a mandate, it's no longer an option. And we'll continue working with our customers that do not have face coverings. We've made a supply available to our street supervisors and our transit police so that we can quickly respond and provide them. I never imagined in this world that I would be putting out messages asking the community not to ride transit unless they were essential. So I believe that we're all looking forward to serving all non-essential trips in the future, but we want to do so as the economy opens up safely and ensures that everyone can come back to their essential jobs and be able to go back to the way or to a new normal of what we were used to. So how do we get there? We have been doing quite a number of things to enhance the rider's experience in this era of COVID-19, from social distancing on our buses and trains, and we'll continue blocking off the seats and making sure that passengers are maintaining a safe distance from each other, as well as limiting the number of passengers who can be on board. We'll continue to intensify our training on our buses and trains and our station platforms. We're providing our bus drivers with the disposable plastic seat covers, and we're also giving them access to plastic capes, similar to the ones that you see at hair salons, so that our operators can easily throw these on when they're securing mobility devices. Operators are also provided other PPE like the poly coveralls, face shields, and gloves for protection. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Rotary Club of Cupertino, BYD Inc., bus manufacturers, and other generous donors who have contributed to our supply of face masks. We go through about 30,000 masks per month. We're also in the process of designing a clear shade that drivers can pull down as a barrier between themselves and passengers boarding at the front of the bus, which we plan on using when we start resuming the collection of fares. I also want to express my gratitude to the many dedicated VTA employees who have been coming up with ingenious ideas that has helped us meet the health order requirements, as well as continue serving the public that depends on us. Next, I want to share with you all VTA's COVID-19 Restoration and Recovery Plan. So as we prepare for the gradual reopening of the local economy, I will be establishing working groups that will focus on rebuilding the public's trust that transit is safe, it's clean, and it's reliable. And I've asked Deborah DeGang to head up that working group. And then second, a group that's going to be putting together a plan to welcome our employees back to work in an environment that will largely be influenced by our new normal. And Angelica Aeda, who is our Chief Safety and Security Officer, will be heading up that group. So both of these groups will be comprised of various representatives from VTA departments, as well as members of our collective bargaining units. We will be very interested in comments that we can get and feedback that we can get from board members as we work through this process. I intend to provide updates at future board meetings on how the group is progressing. On the local and regional front, as it relates to COVID and post-COVID, as APTA chair, I have established a Mobility Restoration and Recovery Task Force to develop a plan that's going to focus on the industry's recovery with an eye towards rethinking mobility as we know it. We know that transit's core functions as financial stability and the availability of new tools and methods that can help reposition the industry are going to be essential in this new environment and as we attract more riders and bring back existing riders. I've also been invited to join the Silicon Valley Recovery Roundtable, which is going to be a regional effort to restart our economy quickly, safely, and equitably, and also sustainably. And then lastly, I've also been invited to be a participant on the MTC's Blue Ribbon Transit Recovery Task Force. And that task force is going to be putting forth recommendations on future funding actions, as well as discussing strategies to restore ridership and stabilize transit systems. And then today, a couple hours ago, we received a copy of the governor's COVID-19 industry guidance for public transit. And it's a very important document, even though it's just a guidance, but it provides some ideas and practices on worksite specific planning, topics for employee training, individual control measures and screening, and cleaning and disinfecting protocols, followed by some physical distancing guidelines. So we'll be reviewing those and against the existing protocols that we have established to make sure that if the good ideas that are in these guidelines can be adopted. As next, I want a bit about the funding, just very briefly, because Franklin did a great job of reminding us, one, that the region received $1.3 billion of the CARES Act funding as its allocation for public transportation in this in the nine county Bay Area. Of that 1.3 billion, VTA's the first 60% tranche, we will be getting 73 million to defray the cost of loss of revenue and increased costs associated with the COVID-19. And we anticipate that the second tranche will be presented to the commission at their June meeting. And the second tranche, the discussions around the second tranche are all going to be guided by this Blue Ribbon task force that I'm going to be participating on. So stay tuned. Next, transitioning from COVID, I just wanted to mention that the VTA annual report is now available. It's a little late. We've been distracted by a number of things. First, the launch of our new transit service plan at the end of the year as we were collecting the information, and then, of course, by the COVID pandemic and our response to it. But nonetheless, this plan really, the report highlights a number of successful accomplishments last year. The first one, of course, I just mentioned, which was the launch of the new transit service plan, which we've had to adjust in this era. And then followed by how helping to improve the flow of traffic along one of the busiest thoroughfares in the Bay Area, which was the expansion of the express lanes on State Route 237. And then making a significant progress on finding a path to improving the board member engagement and accountability through the board enhancement committee that was chaired by board member McAllister. Lastly, I just want to bring your attention to the northbound I-280 Foothill Boulevard off-ramp widening. That I would like to report that this project will off-ramp to 2 lanes to improve safety and operations at the weaving and merging section between SR 85 and Foothill Boulevard on northbound I-280. The project is funded with 2016 Measure B funds. There's an aerial photo to the left of your screen that shows the area, the project area. Now, due to environmental constraints and because of the project's proximity to Stevens Creek, construction is limited to the period between April 15 and October 15. Biologists are on site and they have been dealing with the relocation of the dusky-footed and protection of an active bird's nest. The photo on the left shows the orange fencing. Well, on my right of the screen, shows the orange fencing and environmental barriers that was installed. And the next slide shows the photos of the installation of the temporary K-rail and the clearing of the grubbing of the job site. So it's anticipated the construction will be completed this year. With that, Madam Chair, I end my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, General Manager. I just want to go ahead. This is Vice Chair Hendricks again. Chair Chavez needed to step away, so she's asked me to go ahead and finish the meeting. I think we have some of my colleagues want to speak, but let's go to the public comments first. So could the clerk have any of our public commenters speak?
Yes, we have 2 members of the public, Eugene and Blair. Eugene, I will be unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you're ready.
Evening once again, board members. Just one question for Ms. Fernandez, and thank the staff. And I'd like to thank the staff first for replying to my inquiry regarding the elevators at Snell and Hamilton Light Rail Stations. Just one question for the chairman. Will your task force to bring back ridership also include people from public transit advocacy or environmental groups? That's something that I did not pick up in your presentation. Such people would know best how to truly bring back transit ridership, especially as VTA severely cut service last December to the point where it's back to literally where it was in the mid-1980s. So I would like an answer to that question, please, about whether or not transit groups or environmental groups will be included in your task force to bring back ridership to VTA.
So GM, do you want to, let's do all the public comments and then you can answer anything that's appropriate.
Okay.
Our second speaker is Blair. Please accept the unmute and you may begin speaking when you are ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I wanted to clarify my previous words that, I've been learning that it's my feeling that there's still going to be a high death count through June on a national level. I don't know what that means here locally, but on a national level, things are going to be pretty high still. And to try to speak to COVID issues and how we have this public process right now, it was my understanding with the public hearing item today, from my point of view, I felt I had the right as the public to speak on the item to specifically address EMF issues on the areas around the land for that issue. I'm asking yourselves, is that an acceptable way to think, and can that be used in the future if I want to specifically address environmental issues on a particular public hearing item? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and I think there were only 2 public speakers. I'm going to close the public speaker section. And general managers or anything of the public comments you'd like to respond to.
I would just like to say that I really appreciate that comment, because at this point we're looking for to gather feedback on what would be the best outline of activities that we need to undertake, recognizing that it's going to be a very slow opening of the economy, but yet our ability to have a plan in place so that we're ready when the economy is ready to open is important. So yes, thank you very much for that comment, and we would add it to the list of things that we need to consider as we develop the outline for the plan.
Okay, thank you. And with the closed public hearing, it looks like I see hands raised. Let's go to Member Perales and then Member McAllister.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair. And my interest is in regards to providing PPE for our riders now that it is a requirement, or at least having some PPE on hand that our bus drivers in particular can have available. And that way, if they have a transit dependent rider that may not have the proper PPE, may not have a mask, that they could be given one by one of our drivers. And then I don't know if it's true or not, but the ATU president in their public comments on the last item had mentioned that some of the CARES Act money could be used for actually purchasing PPE for our riders. I want to see if that is the case as well.
GM?
Yeah, Member Perales, all I can say at this point is I do not know for a fact that we can use the CARES Act funding to provide PPE to riders. So I'll have to review the CARES Act with our general counsel and the policy personnel at VTA. But as it relates to having PPE available, one of the our priority is to provide the PPE to our operators. We are trying to the maximum extent possible to avoid the contact between the operators and the public. So if in fact it's determined that we need to provide the PPE to the public, we'll have to figure out the best way that can be handled. As I mentioned earlier in my report, we go through about 30,000 PPEs, just not PPEs, the facial coverings, to be very specific, not PPEs, but the facial coverings. We go through about 30,000 of those per month just for our VTA personnel, and have been very fortunate to get donations from different organizations, as well as we put in our orders. Like everything else, everyone is ordering facial masks, whether it's N95 or the surgical mask. And that's one of the reasons that in our messaging, we have emphasized that facial coverings is what's required, and therefore the public can use, whether it's a handkerchief, a bandana, or any form of facial coverings. We will endeavor to find the funding to provide some facial coverings, but I don't want to leave anyone with the impression that we will have one per rider per each ride. But we will be definitely looking into that, given that this requirement may not be something that some of our riders will be able to adhere to on their own.
Yeah, and I do understand that, right? The facial coverings we're talking about are not your traditional N95 mask. We could be talking about something as simple as a handkerchief that somebody could tie around their face, or a bandana. And I know at times we consider things like that swag, and put a brand on it and hand them out, whether maybe not traditionally bandanas, I know, but that is done in certain locations where they would use a bandana as a promotional swag. And I know those can be fairly inexpensive as well. And so I would like to hear a follow-up on that, but more specifically in regards to the CARES Act availability of dollars, and maybe the responsibility that there would be for for us to provide that, if that is indeed. And I will myself research a little bit further on the CARES Act, but I would like to get a follow-up from your office. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be happy to do so. And as I indicated, we will be looking at ways that we can provide facial coverings, but I just want to make sure that there isn't an expectation that we will have them for everyone all the time. But we're working towards.
Yeah, that's understood. I definitely understand that, and I don't think that we should expect that, and I don't think that we would actually see that anyways. I know there are a lot of people that have found all sorts of things to cover their face and are using them wisely. My interest was in the in the few chances, it would be my guess that a bus driver would potentially come across a rider that doesn't have one. God forbid it's just because you forget one for the day. There's joking memes out nowadays, and because people walk out right with their keys or their wallet and forget their mask. And so if we had an ability to have some on hand with our bus drivers, and again, I specific to bus drivers, I know obviously they're able to interact a little bit more with the riders, and unlike our light rail operators, and it may have the chance to have some of those extra on hand, and again, could even be in the fashion of something that was looked like promotional material, something was cheaper to be able to afford. And most importantly, though, would be the funding for it. I wouldn't necessarily want to, say that this is where we should be prioritizing the scarce dollars that we have now. But if indeed the CARES Act is providing money for that, then I would want to see what our response is to that. So that's really what I would want to get a response back from first, would be on the CARES Act funding, and if there is specifications around PPE for our riders rather than just or was it just for our operators. And I do totally understand that, and I don't have personally any expectation that we're going to be going out and trying to provide masks for every single one of our riders.
Okay, thank you, Member Peralez. Member McAllister.
Yeah, Nuria, about 6 weeks ago, we chatted about Palo Alto, but I also asked you the question about lessons that we could learn in efficiency when we are sort of cut to the bone, and that you guys, staff, would be looking at those going forward. Have you been able to find areas, even though it's a dreaded time, but some good coming out of this to see how you can run lean and mean?
Um, well, and thank you very much. That's a very important question, given that our revenues are going to take a significant blow throughout this period of time. One of the things that is occurring with our service is that even though we're providing full service throughout the system, we have savings on the fuel, because the cost of fuel has gone down. So there's some savings in the cost of fuel. And we're not using all our facilities 100% because we have employees working from home. So there's some minor things at this point. I think significant savings will be part of our short-term and long-term considerations as we're looking at how we close the gap in the budget. But as of today, all VTA employees are either working from home, and those that cannot work from home are coming into work in a staggered fashion. Our bus and light rail operators are providing service, and we're providing 100% of our service. So we'll be coming back to you through the financial updates with any additional cost-cutting measures that we will need to implement in short and long term once we have a better handle on what our sales tax revenues will be, and we'll be getting those in a couple months.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't see anybody else's hands up. Did any of my other colleagues have any questions on this item we just discussed? Seeing none, if I could ask my other two colleagues to put their hands down on the sheet. I just want to also thank all our VTA employees that are out there every day and doing what they're doing to keep people moving and having the service out there. I think they're doing a fantastic job. We're going to move on to 8.1.A. And General Manager, do you have anything on that? Or should I read this? So
no, I'm sorry. 8.1.A is a placemat that's in here for reference. There's no presentation that comes with it unless there's a question.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and see to the clerk. Are there any members of the public that wanted to speak on 8.1A?
We do have two public speakers, Roland and Blair. Roland, okay. I will be unmuting you.
Okay.
So very briefly, I think the time for Measure A placemat is long overdue. And Mayor Ricardo, you may be interested to know that there's one of the boxes there that says all these wonderful things we're going to be doing with freeways. Well, one of them is the $60 million we are about to blow on the Blossom Hill 101 interchange improvements. You may recall that you directed staff to improve the connection between Coyote Creek and the Blossom Hill Caltrain station. Well, I was at a meeting, with all the bidders a week ago, and I made a suggestion over there to have a value engineering proposal. That basically would cut $5 million of the project and end up with a better outcome than, ending up behind a gas station. We were flat told that if this was part of the bid would be rejected. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Blair, I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to once again offer that, with the Measure B issues, I'm interested. I have to reestablish and redefine my ideas of what sustainability can be and the importance of positive sustainability. And I was pretty impressed with what was spoken about, what can be done with that term at this time, the asks that were made. And I'm looking for how can we build positively out of this time and not be locked into, ugly bad patterns, continual bad patterns. there's a sense, it's nice that things can stay the same. I will be interested in exploring how we can make important changes and address the fact that we never have this sort of pandemic situation happen again. And I hope that can be the positive sustainability ideas that are so important in all of what we do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's closing the public hearing. I don't see any raised hands from my colleagues. Is there anyone who wanted to have any questions about this item? I'm going to take that as a no. That moves us on to 8.1B, which is the informational item on receiving the government affairs report. There's a written report in your packet. Jim Lawson, the Chief External Affairs Officer, did you have anything you wanted to verbally share?
Hi, thank you, Glenn. Just very, very quickly, I wanted to let you know that an updated government affairs report has been published. That's because recent information came out. As many of you may have heard, the state indicated that the budget is going to be short $54 billion this year. They are expecting a 37% decline in revenue. We are waiting with something less than excitement for the May revise to come out on May 14th, which will give us an idea of where people stand relative to state funding. The governor also released phase 2 for the shelter in place. It's just for our purposes, it's important to know that Santa Clara County's shelter in place is more strict than the state's order, and the more strict requirement prevails. As Nuria had mentioned, the state has provided guidance. Has provided guidance on how to safely operate bus and rail systems. We're reviewing it. The quick look that I took this afternoon, it only came out a couple of hours before this meeting, is that we are adhering to those guidelines. And again, they are guidelines, not necessarily requirements. We have also, thanks to Nuria's leadership at APTA, been able to use APTA's guidance for public transit that was developed jointly by APTA and the Bloomberg School of Public Health at Johns Hopkins University. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. You know, General Manager, I think I might have stepped on your toes with that one. So was there anything you wanted to add? I
No,
apologize.
not at all. You did very well. Thank you.
I apologize.
Not a problem.
With that,
That
I'm going to
concludes
see.
the General Manager's report.
Okay, I wanted to see if there's any other public comment from the clerk.
No, there's none.
Okay, then we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Are there any other comments from my colleagues on the General Manager's report? I'm not seeing anyone's hands raised in my little screen here. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you. That concludes 8.1. 8.2 is the chairperson's report. The chair did not leave anything and I don't have anything to add. So we're going to go ahead and move on to 8.3, items of concern and referral to the administration. Do any of my colleagues have any items of concern or things they'd like to refer to the administration? I'm not seeing anyone's hands up, so we're going to go ahead and move on. 8.4, are there any announcements from either the General Manager or from my colleagues?
No announcements from the General Manager.
And I'm not seeing any hands raised from my colleagues. So thank you very much with that. So announcements are done. We're moving to item 9, which is closed session. Closed session has been removed from tonight's agenda, so we have no closed session item to go ahead and go to. And that leaves us to item 10. And I'm just going to ask real quickly for my colleagues, anybody have anything last they want to say? Going once, going twice. I really want to appreciate everybody from being able to stay through. There's a pretty long agenda and several things that we went through, but we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 9:25. Thank you all very much for being here and stay safe out there. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. We will end the meeting now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Want me to go ahead and end it? Yes.